Chapter 2024. Ruthless. Ruthless. Unparalleled ruthless. The eight-legged monster was dumbfounded. Looking at the blood flowing out of the black-robed martial artist's mouth, the eight-legged monster felt his scalp go numb. Rumble. However, what made the eight-legged monster's scalp go numb was yet to come. After replacing the heart, the black-robed martial artist's aura rose sharply. In a short period of time, he made great progress and reached the terrifying early-stage Sky Immortal Realm. The black-robed martial artist's early-stage Sky Immortal Realm was different from those martial artists who had passed the Sky Immortal Tribulation. He was purely relying on his heart to maintain himself. In other words, as long as his heart was destroyed, he would lose his source of energy and die on the spot. You forced me to use this move. In order to repay you, I've decided to send you to hell. The black-robed martial artist's expression was cold as he dashed out. The black-robed martial artist hated the eight-legged monster very much. If the monster hadn't spoiled his plans, he wouldn't have needed to replace his heart at all. His mid-stage Sky Immortal Realm heart was prepared for the Sky Immortal Tribulation. Originally, he planned to replace his heart during the Sky Immortal Tribulation and reach the mid-stage Sky Immortal Realm in one go. But now, replacing his heart in advance made it almost impossible for him to reach the mid-stage Sky Immortal Realm during the Sky Immortal Tribulation. There was even a possibility that he would fail. After all, his heart belonged to a mid-stage Sky Immortal Realm martial artist. During the Sky Immortal Tribulation, the heavenly tribulation might judge him as a powerful genius and send down even more dangerous tribulation clouds. One last minute. Although he was shocked, the eight-legged monster didn't lose his mind. There was only 1 minute left until the 3 minutes Ningyu requested. 1 minute might not be too long, but it might be very difficult for the eight-legged monster to survive. After the black-robed martial artist's heart was replaced, his strength had a qualitative breakthrough. He was fearless even when facing an early-stage Sky Immortal Realm martial artist, let alone the monster. Die. Perhaps seeing that the human demon was about to recover, the black-robed martial artist used all his strength. Terrifying energy gathered in his right fist and punched at the eight-legged monster. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. The eight-legged monster felt his hand shake. Then, the Origin Creation Divine Staff flew out of his hand and toward the back. Damn it, am I really going to die here? The eight-legged monster cursed, his face full of unwillingness. Bang! As the eight-legged monster beast roared in anger, the black-robed cultivator's fist smashed into its chest. Fortunately, the eight-legged demonic beast had tilted its body slightly at the critical moment. Otherwise, the black-robed cultivator's punch would have been enough to kill it. But even so, the eight-legged demonic beast had lost its fighting strength. Its body was sent flying and heavily fell to the ground. Ningyu, give me your life. After knocking back the eight-legged demonic beast, the black-robed cultivator immediately attacked Ningyu, trying to make Ningyu submit. You want to hurt Ningyu in front of me? Aren't you being too arrogant? An indifferent voice rang out in the area. Humph! None of the people I want to kill can live. No, you. The black-robed cultivator snorted coldly. Just as he was about to mock Xiao Chen, he seemed to have discovered something horrifying. He froze on the spot. This is impossible. The black-robed cultivator's face was filled with horror. He even stomped on the ground and retreated repeatedly. Since you're here, stay and rest for a while. Facing the black-robed cultivator, the human demon slowly stood up and casually waved his right hand. Swish! It seemed like the human demon had casually waved his hand, but in reality, it was not. A formless cold light flew out from the human demon's sleeve. This cold light was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the black-robed cultivator, forcing him to not dare to act rashly. The black-robed cultivator knew that if the human demon wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. This was because he sensed an aura from the human demon that he had only sensed from immortal blood poison. Mid-sky immortal stage. The human demon's current cultivation base had completely recovered to its peak state. In fact, back in the higher planes, the human demon's cultivation base was already at the mid-sky immortal stage. Now that he had recovered to the mid-sky immortal stage, he naturally wanted to use the black-robed cultivator to establish his might. Swish! In a flash, the human demon arrived in front of the black-robed cultivator. He said lightly, "You want to kill Ningyu?" "I don't want to kill him." The black-robed cultivator was not simple. He quickly calmed down and replied. The black-robed cultivator thought for a moment. Although the human demon was a mid-sky immortal stage expert, his backer was not simple. Immortal blood poison was no ordinary mid-sky immortal stage expert. In the past, immortal blood poison had single-handedly wreaked havoc in a mid-sky domain and killed several sky immortal stage expert. Although they were both mid-sky immortals, the black-robed cultivator didn't think that the human demon was stronger than immortal blood poison. Thus, the black-robed cultivator felt that he had the confidence and qualifications to face the human demon head-on. "Ningyu, he said that he doesn't want to kill you." The human demon's reaction was a little out of the black-robed cultivator's expectations. He turned back to look at Ningyu. "In my opinion, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Why don't you turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk?" "All right, I'll listen to you." Surprisingly, Ningyu didn't refute the human demon's words. "What are you trying to do?" The black-robed cultivator was a little confused. He really couldn't understand why Ningyu and the human demon didn't seem to want to be enemies with him. Could it be that they knew of immortal blood poison's reputation? "Don't worry. As long as you come with me to the Great Dao Valley, I will introduce you to immortal blood poison." Thinking of this, the black-robed cultivator puffed out his chest and said proudly. At this moment, the black-robed cultivator appeared very magnanimous. He even wanted to fight for more benefits for Ningyu and the human demon. "I'm very sorry." Ningyu shrugged at the black-robed cultivator. "When I said to turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk, that's under the premise that you submit to me. Perhaps you don't know what the word submit means. Let me explain it to you. Submit means that you kneel down, kowtow to me a few times, and become my dog." Boom. When Ningyu said this, the black-robed cultivator's mind went blank, and he became extremely angry. This was too much. The black-robed cultivator looked coldly at Ningyu and said fiercely, "Offending me is equivalent to offending immortal blood poison, and anyone who offends immortal blood poison is destined to have a bad end." "Sorry, I don't like that immortal blood poison." Ningyu pursed his lips. "I'll give you one last chance. Kneel down and kowtow to me a few times. At the same time, relax your mind, or die." Rumble. As soon as the word die was said, Ningyu activated the origin-creating divine staff. A terrifying aura emanated from the staff. Although Ningyu had only helped the human demon recover his cultivation, Ningyu had gained many benefits. The human demon injected a terrifying energy into Ningyu's body, and Ningyu injected it into the origin-creating divine staff. Chapter 2025. 20% of the power of the essence creating divine staff could allow Ningyu to fight against a middle-stage heaven immortal. One could imagine that 25% of the power of the essence creating divine staff was enough for Ningyu to face a peak middle-stage heaven immortal calmly. "You're courting death." The black-robed martial artist's face was extremely gloomy as he was suppressed by the powerful aura. He said fiercely, "Blood poison immortal's power, you will never." Before he could finish his words, the black-robed martial artist suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura instantly fell to the bottom. "Surrender or die." Ningyu took a step forward and placed the essence creating divine staff in front of the black-robed martial artist. Actually, Ningyu did not want the black-robed martial artist to surrender. If the black-robed martial artist was sensible, then Ning Yu would consider letting him live and let him be the vanguard. But if the black-robed martial artist was stubborn, Ning Yu did not mind getting rid of him. "Kill me if you can. Blood poison immortal will avenge me." The black-robed martial artist looked at Ning Yu coldly and roared. "As you wish." Ning Yu did not waste time talking to the black-robed martial artist. He waved the essence creating divine staff in his hand and smashed it on the black-robed martial artist's neck. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. Then, the black-robed martial artist's eyes widened, and his whole body fell backward. Bang! The sound of a body hitting the ground was heard. The black-robed martial artist's aura seemed to have disappeared, and he became a living dead. Although he had used the essence creating divine staff to break the black-robed martial artist's neck, Ning Yu did not let down his guard. He stared at the black-robed martial artist and then frowned, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Logically speaking, since the black-robed martial artist's neck was broken, the essence spirit in his body would definitely escape immediately. But looking at the black-robed martial artist's posture, it was obvious that his essence spirit was staying in his body and had no intention of escaping. Boom! At this moment, the black-robed martial artist stomped on the ground and suddenly stood up. Hiss! The black-clad cultivator's actions made the eight-legged demonic beast and the five-fingered immortal suck in a breath of cold air. "He's alive again?" The eight-legged demon beast and the five-fingered immortal revealed looks of horror. Wasn't the black-robed martial artist's vitality too tenacious? "Hee hee, you want to kill me? It won't be that easy." The black-robed martial artist who had been resurrected let out a strange laughter as he stared at Ning Yu and said, "Today, I'll let you know what a real middle-stage heaven immortal expert is." Rumble! As he spoke, the black-robed cultivator's heart began to spin rapidly. As his heart beat, the aura of the black-robed cultivator soared at a terrifying speed. Early-stage heavenly immortal, peak early-stage heavenly immortal, mid-stage heavenly immortal, peak mid-stage heavenly immortal. In a short period of time, the black-robed cultivator's aura had already soared from its lowest point to its peak. Even Ning Yu couldn't help but put on a solemn expression when facing the aura of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal. One had to know that his overall strength was only comparable to a martial artist at the peak mid-stage heaven immortal. How could Ning Yu not be shocked when the black-robed martial artist exuded the aura of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal? However, Ning Yu didn't feel despair because of this. Even if the black-robed martial artist could exert the strength of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal, Ning Yu was still fearless. After all, the Essence Creation Divine Staff was not a decoration. Using the Essence Creation Divine Staff, Ning Yu was not afraid of the black-robed martial artist at all. Kill! After his aura soared to the peak mid-stage heaven immortal, the black-robed martial artist locked his eyes on Ning Yu and rushed out in a flash. Whoosh! Although the black-robed martial artist could emit the aura of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal, there was actually some inside information that Ning Yu and the others did not know. 3 moves. In order to exert the strength of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal, the black-robed martial artist did not hesitate to burn the special heart in his body. The burning of the heart gave the black-robed martial artist a huge opportunity. This was because burning the heart could allow the black-robed martial artist to have the strength of a peak mid-stage heaven immortal. Of course, there was a limit to this opportunity. The black-robed martial artist could indeed exert super-strong strength, but he only had 3 opportunities. In other words, after 3 times, the black-robed martial artist would be beaten back to his original state. At the same time, the black-robed martial artist who had lost his heart was very likely to vanish into thin air. Let's attack together. Feeling the aura emitted by the black-robed martial artist, the human demon and Ning Yu looked at each other and immediately moved together. Even a lion would use its full strength to catch a rabbit, let alone a crazy black-robed martial artist. Rumble! Rumble! The human demon recovered to the mid-stage heaven immortal, while Ning Yu could also exert the strength of a mid-stage heaven immortal using the essence creation divine staff. Under such circumstances, even if the black-robed martial artist burned his heart, he was still a little powerless. The first move forced the black-robed martial artist to retreat dozens of feet. Swoosh! The black-robed martial artist was not discouraged and continued to attack, launching the second move. Rumble! Facing the black-robed martial artist's second attack, Ning Yu and the human demon chose to meet force with force. The second move forced the black-robed martial artist to retreat dozens of feet again. Damn it, how is this possible? The black-robed martial artist roared like a madman. He would never have thought that the strength he had obtained by burning his heart would come to nothing in front of Ning Yu and the human demon. Yes, it was nothing. Fight! For the third move, the black-robed martial artist could be said to have used all his strength. After all, this time, if he didn't die, it would be Ning Yu and the human demon. Therefore, this move of the black-robed martial artist was even more powerful, even faintly showing signs of breaking through to the late-stage heaven immortal. To avoid future troubles, Ning Yu and the human demon's expressions became extremely solemn. Originally, they thought that no matter how strong the black-robed martial artist was, how strong could he be? As long as the two of them joined forces, they could easily kill the black-robed martial artist. But now they knew that they were wrong, very wrong. The black-robed martial artist could actually produce such a terrifying attack. If the black-robed cultivator continued, just how powerful would his next attack be? Human Demon Fist. The human demon used his trump card, Human Demon Fist. With the recovery of his cultivation, the power of the human demon fist increased by several times. Origin Creation Divine Staff. Ning Yu shouted in a deep voice, using the Origin Creation Divine Staff, without holding back. Bang! Bang! In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu and the black-robed martial artist clashed. In an instant, the black-robed martial artist threw out 2 punches. In the first punch, the black-robed martial artist had the upper hand, while the human demon was at a disadvantage. After all, the human demon who had recovered to his peak state was only a mid-stage heaven immortal, while the black-robed martial artist's punch was equivalent to the attack of a late-stage heaven immortal. Under such circumstances, it was not easy for the human demon to persevere. As for the second punch, the black-robed martial artist landed on the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Crack! Relatively speaking, the black-robed martial artist was not so lucky. How hard was the Origin Creation Divine Staff? Chapter 2026. At this moment, the black-robed cultivator's fist broke on the spot. Argh, I can't accept this. The breaking of his fist caused the black-robed cultivator to let out a hysterical roar. After 3 moves, the black-robed cultivator's heart was completely incinerated. The black-robed cultivator was only able to hold on until now because of his special heart. With his heart completely incinerated, the black-robed cultivator would no longer be able to survive. Bang! Just as he roared, the black-robed cultivator's eyes rolled and his body fell backward. Dead. To be honest, the way the black-robed cultivator died left Ning Yu dumbfounded. Given the black-robed cultivator's combat power, he and the human demon would be in danger if he could hold on for just a little longer. But now, the black-robed cultivator had died. Furthermore, he had died a thorough death. 5 fingers immortal. Ning Yu wasn't excited about the black-robed cultivator's death. He waved his hand at the 5 fingers immortal and pointed at the black-robed cultivator. I'll leave him to you. You should know what to do. I know. I promise to complete the mission. How would the 5 fingers immortal dare to disobey Ning Yu? Whether he could live or die depended on Ning Yu's mood. If Ning Yu wanted him to live, he would live. If Ning Yu wanted him to die, he would die. Don't disappoint me. Ning Yu only glanced at the 5 fingers immortal before walking towards the Dark Emperor. After all, the Dark Emperor's injuries were the heaviest. As for Ning Lu and the human demon, their injuries weren't that serious. Otherwise, the Five Fingers Immortal wouldn't have accepted the mission to save the human demon and Ning Lu within half an hour. Let me do it. Seeing that Ning Yu wanted to break the seal on the Dark Emperor, the human demon said hurriedly. After recovering his cultivation to his peak, the human demon could already sense the seal on the Dark Emperor. The human demon knew very well. Although Ning Yu could use the Essence Creation Divine Staff to unleash the power of a mid-stage Sky Immortal, Ning Yu couldn't help much with the seal on the Dark Emperor. All right. Ning Yu was slightly startled when he heard the human demon's words. Soon after, he nodded and said, "How could Ning Yu not know the uniqueness of the seal in the Dark Emperor's body? Unless he was a genuine Heaven Immortal, it would be very difficult for him to break the seal left by Dan Qi with just the Essence Creation Divine Staff." Gotcha. Just as Ning Yu was deep in thought, the human demon's fist had already landed on the Dark Emperor's back. The human demon's punch directly broke one of the Dark Emperor's bones. "I can't believe it." The Dark Emperor felt the pain and let out a furious roar. "Sorry, it was a mistake." The human devil hurriedly apologized. Just now, he had indeed wanted to help the Dark Emperor break the seal, but who would have thought that there would be a small mistake, causing him to fail at the last moment? Gotcha. Although human demon said that he had made a mistake, his hands were not idle at all. In the blink of an eye, the human demon punched out again. This punch directly broke a bone on the Dark Emperor's forehead. You. The Dark Emperor was so angry that he could not speak. He had asked the human demon to help him break the seal, not to be bullied. Gotcha. However, the human demon did not continue to pay attention to the Dark Emperor. He waved his hands repeatedly, and in a few moves, the Dark Emperor rolled on the ground. "You're too much. I'm going to fight it out with you." The Dark Emperor stood up with difficulty and yelled at the human demon, "You're using your position to take revenge. Something's not right." Suddenly, the Dark Emperor raised his brows, as though he had thought of something. He hurriedly used the internal peering technique. This glance caused the Dark Emperor to suck in a breath of cold air. The reason why the Dark Emperor had such a reaction was because the seal in his body had been secretly broken by the human demon. Gotcha. At the same time, in a certain region of the Great Tao Valley, a cultivator suddenly crushed the stone in his hand, his expression extremely gloomy. "How dare you break the seal I left behind? No one in the world can save you." After leaving behind those ruthless words, the cultivator burrowed into the void, disappearing without a trace. If the Dark Emperor was here, he would have discovered that this martial artist was none other than the martial artist who had left the seal in his body. Dan Qi. This martial artist's true identity was a peerless expert of the Dan Qi clan. Whoosh! Seeing that he had broken the seal in the Dark Emperor's body, the human demon could not help but heave a sigh of relief. To be honest, at that moment, even the human demon was not sure if he could break the seal. That was because the seal on the Dark Emperor's body was very special. If he was not careful, it would explode on the spot. Fortunately, I've recovered to my peak state. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable if I were to break the seal rashly. The human demon felt a little scared. If he had not recovered to the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm, this attempt to break the seal for the Dark Emperor would have ended in failure. Fortunately, I didn't fail. As soon as the human demon broke the seal in the Dark Emperor's body, the five-fingered immortal wiped the sweat off his forehead and cupped his fists at Ningyu. His injuries are completely healed. Hearing this, Ningyu hurriedly turned to look at Ning Lu. The five-fingered immortal was right. At this time, Ning Lu had completely recovered. Buzz. Ning Lu had just recovered. Before he could say anything, space suddenly tore open. Following that, a cultivator appeared. Everyone says that Ning Yu is extraordinary. I might not have believed it before, but after seeing it for myself today, it seems to be the case. The martial artist in the air stared at Ning Yu and said calmly, "Can kill, huh?" Before the warrior in the air could finish his sentence, he stared at the origin creating divine staff in Ning Yu's hand and exclaimed, "No wonder you could kill my subordinates. It turns out that you have such a heaven-defying magic treasure." That's right, the martial artist in the air was none other than the blood poison immortal. To be more precise, it was just a clone of the blood poison immortal. The blood poison immortal was very strong. Even though it was just a clone, he could still see the difference in the origin creation godly staff. Ning Yu's expression was a little solemn. Ever since he could unleash 25% of the origin creation godly staff's power, he could gradually control the aura emitted by the origin creation godly staff. Ordinary martial artists would not be able to see the uniqueness of the origin creation godly staff. However, the fact that the martial artist in the air could see the difference in the origin creation godly staff was enough to show that he was not simple. An innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. The blood poison immortal stared at the origin creation godly staff in Ning Yu's hand. Then, he sighed and looked away. In fact, the blood poison immortal really wanted the origin creation godly staff. However, he knew very well that his real body was in the Tao Valley. Relying on this clone alone would not be able to snatch the origin creation godly staff. Therefore, he did not act rashly. "You are the blood poison immortal?" Ning Yu asked. "That's right, I am the blood poison immortal." Chapter 2027. Buzz. Buzz. Immortal blood poison's clone had no intention of tangling with Ning Yu. As soon as he finished speaking, immortal blood poison's clone tore through the void and tunneled in. Immortal blood poison was no fool. The black-robed cultivator had used a mid-stage sky immortal's heart, causing his combat strength to soar to the early-stage sky immortal level for a short period of time. Even so, he was still no match for Ning Yu and the human demon. Although this clone's overall combat strength was slightly stronger than the black-robed cultivator's, it was only slightly stronger. Just this clone alone was no match for Ning Yu and the human demon. If he attacked rashly, there would only be one final outcome. His clone would be defeated, and Ning Yu and the human demon would be injured to a certain extent. That's right, they would only be injured to a certain extent, but not fatally. Immortal blood poison would not do something that was clearly losing him money. Thus, he chose to leave for now. He would settle the score with Ning Yu and the human demon after they entered the Tao Valley. "You want to leave?" When he saw immortal blood poison's clone enter the void, Ning Yu frowned slightly. Then, he pushed off the ground and charged forward. At this moment, Ning Yu decided to attack immortal blood poison's clone. The reason why Ning Yu made such a decision was because he sensed a terrifying aura from immortal blood poison. Late-stage sky immortal. Ning Yu sensed a trace of a late-stage sky immortal aura from immortal blood poison. In order to ascertain immortal blood poison's true cultivation level, Ning Yu had to attack no matter what. Human demon fist. The human demon and Ning Yu were on the same side. The moment Ning Yu took a step forward, the human demon used his most powerful move. Crack! Under the combined attack of Ning Yu and the human demon, the void shattered and a figure darted out. Clearly, the martial artist who had emerged from the void was none other than immortal blood poison, who had just entered. To be more precise, it was immortal blood poison's clone. "You've angered me." Immortal bloodvenom stared fixedly at Ning Yu and the human demon, then said in a low voice, "Anyone who dares to anger me is destined to meet a terrible end." The instant he said the word "field," immortal Shui Du shot forward, his target being Ning Yu. Although immortal blood poison wasn't completely confident in his ability to deal with Ning Yu and the human devil, he wouldn't cower at a time like this. After all, Ning Yu and the human devil had already come to bully him. If he were to cower, it would be somewhat inexcusable. The reason why he chose Ning Yu as his main target was that Ning Yu's cultivation was much lower than the human demon's. On the other hand, it was because Ning Yu had the essence-creating divine staff. Since he had decided to attack, Immortal Blood Poison had never imagined that he would be able to leave alive. In Immortal Blood Poison's heart, as long as he could snatch the essence-creation divine staff, it would be worth it even if he had to give up this clone. Good timing. Ning Yu waved the essence-creating divine staff in his hand and smashed it at Immortal Blood Poison. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Ning Yu's staff was enough to kill an early-stage Sky Immortal. Facing the primordial creation divine staff that was heading towards him, Immortal Blood Poison took out a red flying sword and slashed at it. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Hiss! Immortal Blood Poison sucked in a breath of cold air as he felt a tearing pain in his hand. In the first exchange, he was at a complete disadvantage. I have to get it. Immortal Blood Poison didn't feel depressed because he was at a disadvantage. Instead, he was attracted by the formidable power of the essence-creating divine staff. If I can get it, I will become one of the top people in the Dao Valley. Immortal Blood Poison took a deep breath and began to spin his body rapidly. Whoosh! As Immortal Blood Poison's body spun, a whirlpool gradually appeared around him. The whirlpool was small at first, but as time passed, it grew larger and larger. In the end, the whirlpool became the size of several people. Ning Yu, I'll let you know what true strength is. Immortal Blood Poison looked coldly at Ning Yu, then opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood into the whirlpool. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As the blood entered the whirlpool, it seemed to be stimulated by something and actually grew even larger. In just a few seconds, the whirlpool doubled in size. Swish, swish, swish. Just as the whirlpool grew larger, several cold lights shot out from it. Myriad Poison Chaotic Dance. Immortal Blood Poison waved his hands repeatedly and bellowed at the same time. In an instant, cold lights flew out of the whirlpool. These cold lights were none other than poisons. There were all sorts of strange poisons. Although 10,000 poisons was a bit exaggerated, there were still thousands of poisons. Not good. Seeing hundreds and thousands of poisons shoot out of the whirlpool, Human Demon's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly tried to protect Ning Yu behind him. It's fine. However, Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating to Human Demon that there was no need to panic. The Origin Creation Divine Staff was a peak-grade profound treasure. It didn't feel any pressure dealing with Immortal Blood Poison's poisons at all. Get in! Ning Yu's Yuan Qi rushed out of his body and poured into the Origin Creation Divine Staff. At this moment, Ning Yu controlled the Origin Creation Divine Staff and absorbed all the poisons shooting out of the whirlpool into his body. So many poisons. I like it. The reason why Ning Yu was so fearless was not just because of the Origin Creation Divine Staff. After all, no matter how powerful the Origin Creation Divine Staff was, it could only absorb the poisons into his body. But Ning Lu was different. His true form was the World Tree. In ancient times, the World Tree could purify all poisons. Although Ning Lu had yet to fully mature, he had no problem dealing with the poisons that Immortal Blood Poison had used. Swish! Ning Lu's figure flashed, and he directly entered the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Oh! Ning Lu's actions caused Immortal Blood Poison's mouth to open slightly, his face full of disbelief. To be honest, Immortal Blood Poison was not particularly surprised that Ning Yu had used the Origin Creation Divine Staff to devour the poisons, because he knew that Ning Yu would definitely do that. But Ning Yu's friend, Ning Lu, had entered the Origin Creation Divine Staff, which really shocked Immortal Blood Poison. Could it be? Soon, Immortal Blood Poison seemed to have thought of something, and his face instantly turned gloomy. Immortal Blood Poison was a Sky Immortal expert from a high-level plane, so he naturally knew a lot of things. Immortal Blood Poison remembered very clearly that there was a kind of constitution that made people unafraid of poisons. This kind of constitution was called the Myriad Poison Body. Ning Lu's actions clearly resembled the Myriad Poison Body. After all, he had used more than 1,000 poisons. If one did not have the myriad poison body, they would definitely not dare to face it head-on. Swish. At this moment, Ning Lu flew out of the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Chapter 2028. I didn't expect you to have the myriad poison body. I was careless. Immortal Blood Poison's expression darkened. He took a deep breath and regained his composure. However, Immortal Blood Poison's words were directed at Ning Yu, not Ning Lu. In Immortal Blood Poison's opinion, Ning Lu only had the myriad poison body. His actual combat strength wasn't particularly strong. Martial artists like Ning Lu, he could kill several with a flip of his hand. Myriad poison body? Hearing Immortal Blood Poison's words, Ning Yu frowned slightly, feeling a bit confused. He had indeed heard of the myriad poison body. But was the poison in the Dark Emperor's devouring vortex related to the myriad poison body? The Dark Emperor's main body was the World Tree. Devouring this poison was no problem at all. Stop pretending. Count yourself lucky today. Let's fight another day. Immortal Blood Poison glanced coldly at Ningyu, then leaped up, wanting to escape before Ningyu could react. However, how could Ningyu let Immortal Blood Poison escape just like that? In order to use the poison vortex, Immortal Blood Poison had used all the trump cards of this clone. Even so, Immortal Blood Poison hadn't been able to harm himself at all. Instead, his aura had become somewhat weak. Under such circumstances, Ningyu didn't need to spend too much effort to capture Immortal Blood Poison. Swish, swish. Ningyu and Human Demon attacked together. Ningyu attacked Immortal Blood Poison from the left, while Human Demon attacked Immortal Blood Poison from the right. Under their combined attacks, Immortal Blood Poison immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, his aura instantly dropping to a freezing point. Don't go too far. Immortal Blood Poison glared at Ningyu and Human Demon. If you piss me off, I'll call my real body over. At this moment, Immortal Blood Poison was extremely enraged. He was a mighty celestial immortal, yet he was blocked by Ningyu and Human Demon. Although he had only come with a clone, if word got out, he would definitely lose face. I'll wait. Wielding the Primordial Creation Divine Staff, Ningyu viciously smashed it towards Immortal Blood Poison. Ningyu didn't care whether or not Immortal Blood Poison would summon his true body over. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if Immortal Blood Poison summoned his true body, Ningyu would not give up on killing his clone. There were some things that could be compromised, but there were some things that could not be compromised. Killing Immortal Blood Poison's clone was something that he could not back down from. Rumble. Ningyu did not act carelessly and go deal with Immortal Blood Venom on his own. Instead, he joined forces with the Human Fiend to launch a lethal attack against Immortal Blood Venom. Although Ningyu's cultivation level had not advanced to the Heaven Immortal stage, with the help of the Essence Creation Divine Staff, his overall strength had reached the peak of the mid-stage Heaven Immortal stage. He was even stronger than the Human Fiend. With the two of them working together, it only took them a short while to capture Immortal Blood Poison's clone. Ningyu did not immediately kill Immortal Blood Poison's clone. Instead, he kicked him and said, "Speak. Why did you send people to capture me?" How sharp was Ningyu's mind. He did not believe that Immortal Blood Poison would send people to capture him for no reason. One had to know that the cultivators sent by Immortal Blood Poison were all incomparably powerful. The Poison Dragon Guards and the black-robed cultivators were all formidable characters. Humph! Immortal Blood Poison snorted coldly, not intending to answer Ningyu's question. Ningyu and the Human Fiend were working together to capture him. How could he choose to compromise? Bang! Ningyu kicked Immortal Blood Poison's buttock. At the same time, he said coldly, "Don't think that I won't know if you don't answer." Next, Ningyu extended his right hand and placed it on Immortal Blood Poison's head. Devour! Ningyu planned to devour Immortal Blood Poison's memories. What? This, not good. Ningyu had just devoured a bit of immortal blood poison's memories when he hastily retreated. Boom. Without a doubt, immortal blood poison had left behind a seal in the head of this clone. If an outsider forcibly devoured the memories, the seal would explode and the enemy would perish together with them. Fortunately, Ningyu had reacted in time. Otherwise, just this trump card that immortal blood poison had left behind would have been enough to make Ningyu suffer. Even so, Ningyu had suffered significant injuries. He had to consume quite a few medicinal pills before he could completely recover. Ningyu, what did you see in immortal blood poison's memories? The human fiend did not care about immortal blood poison's life or death. All he cared about was what Ningyu had discovered. Ningyu's shocked expression had been imprinted in the human fiend's mind, lingering there for a long time. Puzzlement, anger, shock, fear, all sorts of emotions had appeared on Ningyu's face in that instant. It's nothing. Ningyu took a deep breath, then waved his hand at the human fiend. Everyone, rest here for half an hour. Then, we'll set off for the Great Tao Valley. After saying that, Ningyu casually found a place to sit down and began to close his eyes to rest. What's going on? Seeing Ningyu's actions, the human fiend frowned slightly. He felt that things were definitely not as simple as they seemed. However, since Ningyu did not want to say anything, the human fiend would not force Ningyu. What he needed to do was quickly recover to his peak state, then follow Ningyu to the Great Tao Valley. Swish! On the other side, Ning Lu did not say a word as he silently devoured the 1,000-odd poisons in his body. Ning Lu's current strength was enough to contend against a cultivator with 6 great Tao energies. However, based on Ning Lu's own judgment, if he could devour and refine the 1,000-odd poisons in his body, his true battle prowess would soar to the peak. At the very least, he would be able to contend against an expert with 10 great Tao energies, or even 2 heavenly immortal laws. After all, the poisons left behind by immortal blood poison were extremely potent. Whoosh! While Ning Lu was rapidly devouring and refining the poisons in his body, the Dark Sovereign appeared somewhat helpless. His strength had already reached a bottleneck. Unless he encountered some heaven-defying fortuitous encounter, he would not be able to break through to a higher level in a short period of time. Oh, right! However, the Dark Sovereign quickly discovered the corpse of the black-robed cultivator beside the 5-fingered immortal. Although the black-robed cultivator was dead, his corpse had not completely disappeared. In order to allow the 5-fingered immortal to heal Ning Lu as soon as possible, Ningyu had handed the corpse to the 5-fingered immortal. Now that the 5-fingered immortal had healed Ning Lu, the corpse naturally fell into the Dark Sovereign's hands. At the same time, in a certain region of the Great Tao Valley, swish, swish, 2 figures tore through the void and gradually appeared. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely recognize one of the cultivators. It was none other than Zhao Rui, whom he had lost contact with. As for the cultivator beside Zhao Rui, his cultivation base was unfathomable. Zhao Rui, you said that you met 3 highly talented cultivators and planned to recommend them to the Central Divine Dynasty. Chapter 2029. Jinhua, stay out of my business. Zhao Rui frowned slightly and said coldly, you only have one task, and that is to listen to my orders. The cultivator called Jinhua shrugged his shoulders and did not dwell on this matter with Zhao Rui. Instead, he changed the topic and said, rumor has it that the Great Tao Valley not only has the power of the Great Tao, but there are even heavenly immortal laws in the depths. Any sky immortal had sky immortal laws in their bodies. The standard to measure a sky immortal's strength was how many sky immortal laws they had, as well as how thick they were. The power of the Great Tao was only a prelude to sky immortal laws. If one could not convert the power of the Great Tao into sky immortal laws, then no matter how much power they had, they could only be the weakest sky immortal. Such sky immortals were commonly known as false sky immortals, and they were undergoing the false sky immortal major tribulation. Don't act rashly, Zhao Rui said in a low voice. Zhao Rui said in a low voice, as far as I know, the overlords of several mid-sized weaves have sent their elders here. What we need to do is to observe the situation and avoid alerting them. Haha, you are too cautious. Jin Hua smiled and said, those elders are almost all people who are about to die. I alone am enough to deal with them. Zhao Rui frowned but did not refute Jin Hua. That was because Jin Hua was a peerless genius of the Central Divine Dynasty. In the Central Divine Dynasty, he could rank in the top 50. Although Jin Hua was only in the top 50, the Central Divine Dynasty was an upper-level domain, and it ruled over tens of millions of mid-sized dominions. Although Jin Hua was only an early-stage sky immortal, his strength was so strong that even some of the strongest cultivators in the mid-sized dominions could not compete with him. Don't be careless. Let's keep going. Zhao Rui stomped on the ground and leaped up, continuing to head deeper into the Great Dao Valley. If your strength had recovered to its peak, I might have some scruples, but you can only use 50% of your peak combat strength. How can you escape from me? Jin Hua's lips curved up involuntarily as he watched Zhao Rui's disappearing figure. Then, Jin Hua tore the void with both hands and burrowed in. At the same time, in another area of the Great Dao Valley, crack, 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 a martial artist clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. It could be seen that this martial artist was furious to the extreme. Immortal blood poison. Yes, this martial artist was none other than Immortal Blood Poison. At this moment, Immortal Xue Du could be said to be extremely depressed. In order to capture Ningyu alive, he had lost an entire team of poison dragon guards and a powerful black-robed cultivator. In fact, even one of his doppelgangers had been killed. Ever since he had descended into the immortal spirit realm, when had Immortal Blood Poison ever suffered such humiliation? Buzz. As Immortal Xue Du was enraged, the void beside him suddenly split open and a martial artist appeared. Immortal Red Bell. Immortal Blood Poison's expression turned extremely unsightly when he saw the martial artist who had suddenly appeared. The reason why Immortal Xue Du had such an expression was because Immortal Hongling came from the primordial devil sect. Hundreds of years ago, he had infiltrated the primordial devil sect and killed a few early heavenly immortal experts from the primordial devil sect. From then on, he was hunted down by the experts of the primordial devil sect. How could he be in a good mood now that Immortal Hongling had appeared? Some time ago, one of your doppelgangers left the Great Dao Valley. Why hasn't he returned? Immortal Hongling looked at Immortal Xue Du with a puzzled expression and asked, "Humph, what does my business have to do with you?" Immortal Xue Du snorted coldly. "Do you think I want to interfere in your business?" Immortal Hongling pursed her lips and said, "I'm here mainly to form an alliance with you." Alliance? Immortal Xue Du was slightly taken aback. He did not know what Immortal Hongling was up to. After all, the opportunities in the Great Dao Valley were limited. Forming an alliance with others meant that he had to share some of the opportunities with others. Immortal Xue Du was confident that he was not weak, so he did not want to form an alliance with others. Sacred Divine Palace, Ancient Demon Sect, Fallen Spirits Sect, Heaven Secrets Sect, and a series of other powerful forces have more or less formed an alliance. Immortal Hongling shrugged and said nonchalantly, "If you think that you can fight against 2 or even 3 of them, then forget what I said." Swoosh. Hearing Immortal Hongling's words, Immortal Xue Du's face instantly darkened. Although he was very confident in his own strength, he could not fight against so many opponents. The experts who had descended from the mid-level dominions were mostly at the peak of the mid-stage sky immortal level. In a one-on-one fight, he was confident that he would have the absolute upper hand. But in a one-on-two fight, he was not absolutely sure. How about it? Think about it? Immortal Hongling had long known that Immortal Xue Du would have such an expression. She raised her eyebrows and said, "To a happy cooperation. How intelligent was immortal Shwedu! He only thought about it for a second before agreeing to immortal Hongling's suggestion. In the face of absolute benefits, any hatred could be temporarily dissolved. For the opportunities in the Great Tao Valley, immortal Shwedu was willing to go all out. To a happy cooperation. The corners of immortal Hongling's mouth curled up unnaturally. But this curvature disappeared in a flash. Come, let's continue deeper into the Great Tao Valley. Immortal Shwedu did not seem to notice the movement of immortal Hongling's lips. He leaped up and charged straight into the depths of the Great Tao Valley. Swish! Immortal Hongling followed closely behind immortal Shwedu. Whoosh! At the same time, the void in front of the Great Tao Valley suddenly split open, and several warriors appeared. This is the Great Tao Valley? Ningyu frowned as he looked at the narrow passageway between the two mountains. Although the strength of Ningyu's group was not at the peak, they were not weak either. Among them, Human Demon was at the mid-stage Sky Immortal level. Five-Fingered Immortal had also recovered his strength to the early stage Sky Immortal level. However, he was now under Ningyu's control. After the Dark Sovereign devoured the black-robed warrior, his combat strength had soared to the point where he could fight against a warrior with 10 great Tao powers. As for Ninglu, he had devoured and refined more than 1,000 types of poisons from immortal Shwedu. His current strength could fight against an expert with 2 Sky Immortal laws. The 8-legged demon's strength did not increase. It still had 8 Sky Immortal laws. Finally, Ningyu could now use 25% of the Origin Creation Divine Staff's power. His strength was already infinitely close to the late-stage Sky Immortal level. It could be said that among Ningyu's group, Ningyu was the strongest. That's right. This is the Great Tao Valley. The 8-legged demon clearly had some understanding of the Great Tao Valley. He took a step forward and explained, the first half of the Great Tao Valley is relatively narrow, but as you go deeper, the space will become wider. Chapter 2030. Ningyu fell into deep thought. The path in front of the Great Tao Valley was very narrow. If they encountered a strong enemy inside, it was very likely that they would encounter a huge battle. At this time, the relatively weak Dark Emperor and Ning Lu would most likely become a burden. With that in mind, Ningyu said, Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, you two go into the storage ring first. The strength of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu might be very strong in other places, but in the Great Tao Valley, they were genuine small fries. They couldn't cause too much trouble. Ningyu letting the two of them enter the storage ring was a sign of his responsibility toward them. Are we really going to enter the storage ring? Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu asked. The two of them were not ignorant people, but they also wanted to share the burden for Ningyu. Go in first. If it's possible, I'll let you out. Ningyu opened his storage ring as he spoke. Xiao. Xiao. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu looked at each other before leaping up and entering the storage ring. Hong Mo. Just as the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu entered the spatial ring, Ningyu shouted in a low voice. In a split second, the Red Devil emerged from the Red Devil sword. Ningyu held the Red Demon sword in his hand and put away the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Ningyu believed that since he had news of the Essence Creation Divine Staff, immortal blood poison would not spread it wantonly. At this time, it was not suitable for him to bring the Essence Creation Divine Staff with him. His idea was to take the Red Fiend sword and leave the Origin Creating Divine Staff as a backup. After devouring Toxic Dragon No. 1's primordial spirit, the Red Demon sword had advanced to the Heavenly Treasure level. Although it was the weakest heavenly treasure, it was still a heavenly treasure. Ningyu, if you can find more primordial spirits and Dharma treasures for me, the Red Demon sword might even have a chance of becoming a profound treasure. The Red Fiend was very excited. He shouted at Ningyu as soon as he came out. In fact, Red Fiend had a reason to be excited. The fact that the Red Demon sword had the chance to become a dark treasure meant that he had the chance to improve further. After fusing with the Red Fiend's sword once again, his abilities were now linked to the Red Fiend's sword's level. Now that the Red Demon's sword was at the early stage of Heavenly Treasure, his strength had already reached the early stage of Heavenly Immortal. After all, Ning Lu had been busy for a very long period of time, yet he was merely able to go against an expert that possessed 2 Heavenly Immortal laws. As for the Dark Emperor, he was in an even more miserable state. He could only go against martial artists that possessed 10 great Tao energies, and he could only suffer grievances when encountering experts that possessed Heavenly Immortal laws. Oh right. Ning Yu's mind suddenly stirred as he asked the Red Fiend, "Can the Red Fiend's sword devour the great Tao power?" Red Fiend was slightly taken aback. To be honest, he had never thought about this. The Red Demon's sword could devour primordial spirits, magic treasures, and vital energy. However, it had never devoured the power of the great Tao. "I'm not too sure about the specifics." The Red Devil shook his head and answered truthfully. "When we encounter the power of the Great Path, I'll leave it to you first." Ning Yu waved his hand and leaped into the air. He was the first to rush into the Great Path Valley. Behind Ning Yu, the human demon, the Red Fiend, the 5-fingered immortal, and the 8-legged demon followed closely behind Ning Yu into the Great Path Valley. Rumble! As soon as Ning Yu entered the Great Path Valley, he heard a rumbling sound. What's going on? The sudden change caused Ning Yu's head to spin momentarily. It's normal, the 8-legged demon explained. Ever since the Great Path Valley was formed, this rumbling sound has always been present. When we reach the central region, this rumbling sound will naturally disappear. You've entered the Great Path Valley before? Ning Yu looked at the 8-legged demon in surprise and asked. The 8-legged demon clearly knew a lot about the Great Path Valley, which exceeded Ning Yu's expectations. The 8-legged demon nodded and said, "Yes, I've entered the Great Path Valley with immortal creation in the past, but I didn't reach the deepest part." Didn't reach the deepest part? Ning Yu frowned. He had a rough understanding of immortal creation's strength. He could tell from the Essence Creation Divine Staff that immortal creation left him that immortal creation must have been an extremely powerful existence. If even immortal creation was unable to reach the deepest part, one could imagine how dangerous the Great Path Valley was. Perhaps it had guessed what Ning Yu was thinking, the 8-legged demon explained. Immortal creation left behind 4 words. 4 words? 4 words? Ning Yu was startled and asked. "It's not time yet," the 8-legged demon said. "It's not time yet, huh?" Ning Yu frowned slightly. Then, his figure flashed and he sped up toward the depths of the Great Path Valley. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they come. Ning Yu did not want to give up halfway. Moreover, with their team, unless a true late-stage Heavenly Immortal appeared, they could definitely do whatever they wanted in the Great Path Valley. Swoosh! Even though Ning Yu's team was very fast, they still had to run at full speed for an hour before they reached the center of the Great Path Valley. Relatively speaking, the center of the Great Path Valley was much more spacious than the front valley. More accurately speaking, only the center of the Great Path Valley could be called a valley, while the front could only be called a winding path. So many small valleys? Ning Yu looked at the entrances that extended in all directions and frowned. Which one is the main path? Follow me. At this time, the 8-legged demon's usefulness was revealed. Although the 8-legged demon was not strong, with him as a guide, Ning Yu's team could avoid many detours. Whoosh! Soon, the 8-legged demon led Ning Yu's team to the entrance of a small valley. There is great Tao energy inside. The 8-legged demon pointed at the entrance of the small valley and said, "Back then, Origin Creation Immortal did not care about this great Tao energy. However, I kept an eye out and remembered all the small valleys that Origin Creation Immortal had seen." You said that there is great Tao energy inside? The human demon was slightly surprised. This was because the valley that the 8-legged demon was pointing at was too small. It was so small that his perception could easily cover it. With his mid-stage heavenly immortal perception, he could easily sense that there was no great Tao energy inside this small valley. Could it be that the eight-legged demon remembered wrongly? Watch me. The eight-legged demon knew that the human demon did not believe him. He clenched his right fist and punched out. A terrifying fist light separated from the eight-legged demon's fist and slammed into the small valley in front of them. Rumble! Under the eight-legged demon's attack, the small valley instantly disintegrated and turned into ruins. The eight-legged demon smiled. Under the confused gazes of Ning Yu and the others, he walked to the center of the ruins and picked up a rock. Gotcha! With a little force, the eight-legged demon split the rock into two. Swish! 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 As soon as the rock was split open, 5 cold lights shot out. Great Tao energy! The human demon exclaimed. That's right, these 5 cold lights were great Tao energy. It wasn't just the human demon. Even Ning Yu was surprised. Chapter 2031. Swoosh! The corners of the eight-legged monster's lips curled up slightly. It then leaped into the air and dashed towards the 5 great path powers. An eight-legged demon beast was a terrifying existence that possessed 8 heavenly immortal laws. How could mere 5 grand Tao energies possibly escape the palm of his hand? With a flash of its figure, the eight-legged monster managed to gain firm control of the 5 great path forces in just a short while and returned to Ning Yu's side. Since the eight-legged demon beast had come to Ning Yu's side, it meant that his intentions were very clear. Give the great path powers to Ning Yu. Thank you. Ning Yu didn't stand on ceremony with the eight-legged demon beast. He took the 5 great path forces from the eight-legged demon beast and threw them to the Red Fiend. Ning Yu had previously said that all the great path powers obtained in the Great Path Valley would be given to the Red Fiend first. Now that he had 5 great path powers, Ning Yu would naturally fulfill his promise and give them to the Red Fiend. Let's go. The eight-legged monster frowned slightly when it saw Ning Yu give the great path powers to the Red Fiend. It then let out a low grunt and dashed towards the depths of the Great Path Valley. The reason why the eight-legged monster had such an expression when it saw Ning Yu give the great path powers to the Red Fiend was not because it regretted it, but because it felt that the great path powers would be more useful in Ning Yu's hands than in the Red Fiend's. In its opinion, the Red Fiend would not be able to make the Red Fiend's sword break through to the Dark Treasure level even if it gave more great path powers to the Red Fiend. It might not even reach the peak Heavenly Treasure level. After all, once a Dharma treasure reached the Heavenly Treasure level, it would be even more difficult to upgrade it. Although it did not agree with Ning Yu's actions, the eight-legged monster did not say it out loud. That was because it had given the great path powers to Ning Yu, so how Ning Yu handled them had nothing to do with it. What it needed to do now was to find all the small valleys in its memory. That was all. Before long, the eight-legged monster stopped in front of a small valley. The monster clenched its fists and punched. Boom! The same action, the same result. The small valley collapsed with a loud bang. What was slightly different from the last time was that the eight-legged demon beast had found 2 stones in this small valley. Gotcha! Gotcha! The eight-legged demonic beast smashed the 2 rocks into smithereens with a slight force from its palm. Shio shio shio, just as the 2 stones shattered, several rays of cold light shot out from within. This, looking at the cold light that shot out from the 2 stones, even with Ning Yu's composure, he couldn't help but gape in shock. Many. There were simply too many of them. His initial estimate was that there were at least dozens of great Tao energies. How could Ning Yu not be surprised by the sudden appearance of so much power of great Tao? How could he not be shocked? Shio! At this moment, a figure suddenly dashed out from beside Ning Yu. Red Devil! Ning Yu was shocked. But soon, Ning Yu's expression changed. He knew very well that the Red Fiend's intention was self-evident. He wanted dozens of great Tao energies. Ning Yu opened his mouth, wanting to dissuade the Red Fiend, but in the end, he chose to remain silent. Ningyu knew better than anyone else that the Red Fiend wanted to eat a fatty. To be honest, Ningyu didn't approve of the Red Fiend wanting to eat a fatty in one bite. However, on second thought, the Red Fiend had never done anything he wasn't confident in. Since the Red Fiend felt that he could succeed, he might as well let him try. Devour. The Red Fiend was originally worried that Ningyu would stop him, but now that Ningyu chose to remain silent, he was naturally very happy. In his joy, he opened his mouth and instantly sucked dozens of great Tao energies into his mouth. Swoosh. Then, Ningyu and the others saw the Red Fiend's figure move and enter the Red Fiend's sword in front of them. Buzz. As soon as the Red Fiend entered the Red Fiend's sword, the Red Fiend's sword vibrated. Moreover, the vibrations became more and more intense. Can it really advance to the peak of heavenly treasure? The Red Fiend's sword's reaction made the eight-legged demon waver. After glancing at the calm Ningyu and the human fiend, the eight-legged demon pondered for a moment and finally chose to continue moving forward. The eight-legged demon was not a fool. He knew that the deeper they went into the Great Path Valley, the more pressure they would face. If the Red Fiend's sword could really advance to the level of a dark treasure, it would be great news for them. After all, everyone knew what a dark treasure meant. Swish, swish, swish. In the next period of time, the eight-legged demon continuously found small valleys and extracted the great Tao energies from within. Without a doubt, all of these great Tao energies entered the Red Fiend's stomach. 2 hours. Within 2 hours, the eight-legged demon found a total of 500 great Tao energies. The fact that the eight-legged demon found 500 great Tao energies meant that the Red Fiend had devoured 500 great Tao energies. What's going on? Ningyu stared suspiciously at the Red Fiend's sword in his hand and frowned slightly. Out of trust for the Red Fiend, Ningyu had given him as many as 500 great Tao energies. Otherwise, Ningyu would have devoured 500 great Tao energies himself. 500 great Tao energies was not a lot, but it was not a small amount either. Even someone as strong as the human demon only had a little more than 500 strands of great Tao energy when he was in a higher plane. If Ningyu could devour 500 great Tao energies, he could even deal with a mid-stage heaven immortal without relying on the Essence Creation Divine Rod. Without the Essence Creation Divine Rod, Ningyu's overall combat strength could only match an early-stage heaven immortal. If he encountered a mid-stage heaven immortal, he would only be able to bear a grudge. Although Dharma treasures were also a reflection of one's strength, Ningyu would definitely not reject the idea of fighting a mid-stage heaven immortal without the help of Dharma treasures. I might have wasted more than 500 great Tao energies for nothing. The eight-legged monster and the human fiend looked at each other and saw a hint of disappointment in each other's eyes. With so many great Tao energies, anyone would be able to improve their strength greatly. Other than the eight-legged monster and the human fiend, even the five-fingered immortal could not help but shake his head and sigh. Although the great Tao energies were not comparable to the heaven immortal laws, the more great Tao energies one had, the stronger one's strength would be. After all, the heaven immortal laws were derived from the great Tao energies. As long as 50 of the 500 great Tao energies could be transformed into heaven immortal laws, it would be a great opportunity for a martial artist. Now that these opportunities were most likely wasted by the Red Fiend, how could the eight-legged monster and the others not be disappointed? Bam! Bam! In an instant, 2 muffled sounds came from the Red Fiend's sword. Then, the Red Fiend's sword suddenly broke free from Ningyu's hand and rushed straight into the air. Late stage. Heavenly treasure. Sensing the aura emanating from the Red Fiend's sword, even the eight-legged monster, who had some complaints about the Red Fiend, opened his eyes wide and stuttered. Chapter 2032. Phew! The Red Fiend heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, the Red Fiend had been under a lot of pressure in the past 2 hours. He had devoured 500 Great Path energies in 2 hours. If the Red Fiend could not make a breakthrough, he would not be able to face Ningyu. Fortunately, after more than 2 hours of hard work, the Red Fiend finally advanced. Moreover, the Red Fiend did not advance from the early stage Heavenly Treasure to the mid-stage Heavenly Treasure. It advanced from the early stage Heavenly Treasure to the late stage Heavenly Treasure. The Red Fiend's strength naturally increased when the Red Fiend advanced to the late stage Heavenly Treasure. Late stage Heavenly Immortal. The Red Fiend's combat power was now comparable to a late stage Heavenly Immortal. Although he was only the weakest late stage Heavenly Immortal, the Red Fiend's strength had leaped to become the strongest in this area. Unless Ning Yu and the Human Fiend joined forces and each of them used their trump cards, it would be difficult to compete with the Red Fiend. That was because there was a huge gap between the late-stage Heavenly Immortal and the mid-stage Heavenly Immortal. Your strength. The attention of the eight-legged monster and the Human Fiend quickly shifted from the Red Fiend to the Red Fiend. The eight-legged demonic beast and the human demon were already shocked, but they were even more astonished by what they saw. The eight-legged monster and the Human Fiend were not stupid. Moreover, the Red Fiend did not hide anything, so the two of them could easily determine the Red Fiend's true strength. I was just lucky. The Red Fiend smiled at the eight-legged monster and the others. He immediately leaped up and came to Ning Yu's side. The Red Fiend cupped his fists at Ning Yu and said in a deep voice, "Fortunately, I did not fail." "Very good." Ning Yu patted the Red Fiend's shoulder and praised him. He then asked in confusion, "I'm very curious. Although 500 Great Path energies are a lot, it should not be enough for the Red Fiend to advance to the late-stage Heavenly Treasure. How did you do it?" Swoosh. Hearing Ning Yu's words, the Human Fiend and the others all looked over. Obviously, Ning Yu's question was exactly what they were wondering. Not only did the Red Fiend's sword advance to the late-stage Heavenly Treasure, but even the Red Fiend's strength had soared to the late-stage Heaven Immortal. Completing all of this in such a short period of time, and under the premise that he only used 500 Great Path powers, really puzzled them. The Red Demon's sword originally had energy within it. The 500 wisps of Great Tao power merely stimulated it. The Red Devil glanced at the Human Demon and the eight-legged demon beast before he finally said, "There was energy to begin with?" Ning Yu was slightly startled, but he immediately understood what Hong Mo meant. Previously, the Red Devil had mentioned that there were seals in the depths of the Red Devil sword, and within those seals was an enormous amount of energy. It could be said that the 500 strands of Great Tao energy were only the keys to open those seals. Without 500 Great Tao powers, the seal could not be opened, and the Red Fiend's sword would not be able to advance to the late-stage Heavenly Treasure. Naturally, the Red Fiend would not be able to fight against a late-stage Heaven Immortal. Therefore, no matter what, the 500 strands of Great Path power were the greatest contributors. Let me stabilize my cultivation first. The Red Devil's figure flashed and directly merged with the Red Fiend's sword. Then, under the astonished gazes of the eight-legged demon beast and the others, it went into the storage ring. It seems that the Red Fiend's sword is not as simple as it looks. Ning Yu frowned. From the beginning to the end, Ning Yu still could not figure out the secret of the Red Fiend's sword. However, Ning Yu felt that as the level of the Red Fiend's sword increased, he should be getting closer to the real secret. How far away are we from the deepest area of the Great Path Valley? Ning Yu gradually collected his thoughts and looked at the eight-legged demon beast as he asked. At full speed, it will take about 10 minutes. The eight-legged demon thought for a while and answered, 10 minutes. Ning Yu took a deep breath and immediately stomped his feet on the ground, charging ahead. Full speed ahead. As soon as he said that, Ning Yu's figure disappeared from the eight-legged demon beast and the other's sight. The Red Fiend's sword had advanced to the late-stage Heavenly Treasure, and the strength of the Red Fiend's sword had soared to the late-stage Heaven Immortal. This made Ning Yu full of confidence. After all, the Red Fiend's sword was his natal Dharma treasure. The increase in the level of the Red Fiend's sword meant that his combat strength had also increased. Before, without using the Origin Creation Divine Staff, Ning Yu could only fight against early-stage Heaven Immortals. If he encountered mid-stage Heaven Immortals, he could only hold a grudge. But now, even without the Origin Creation Divine Staff, Ning Yu could still fight against mid-stage Heaven Immortals with the help of the Red Fiend Sword. In fact, it could even kill a mid-heavenly immortal expert. Swish. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. When the 11th minute arrived, Ning Yu suddenly emerged from the void and floated in the air. Buzz. Buzz. Not long after Ning Yu stopped, the eight-legged demon beast and the human fiend appeared beside Ning Yu. Generally speaking, as long as you can cross this barrier, you will enter the deepest area of the Great Tao Valley. The eight-legged demon beast pointed to the faintly discernible barrier in front of them and said, "The deepest area of the Great Tao Valley is extremely dangerous. Even mid-stage Heaven Immortals have to be extremely careful when they enter. Otherwise, they might die inside." Hearing the eight-legged demon beast's words, Ning Yu vaguely felt that something was amiss. As long as you can? These words, no matter how one listened to them, did not seem like normal words. Could it be? At this thought, Ning Yu's expression instantly became solemn. Roar. As expected, a terrifying roar came from the faintly discernible barrier. Swish. As soon as the roar was heard, a huge figure swept out from the barrier and appeared in front of Ning Yu and the others. Mid-stage Heaven Immortal. Ning Yu's expression turned ugly when he sensed the aura emitting from the colossal creature. The area they were in was only the middle part of the Great Tao Valley. If even the middle part was guarded by mid-stage Heaven Immortal experts, one could imagine how terrifying the deepest area was. Our luck isn't too good. The eight-legged demon beast stared at the colossal creature and said in a deep voice, "There are many demonic beasts inside the barrier that separates the middle and deepest areas of the Great Tao Valley. The last time I came here with immortal creation, there was only an early-stage Heaven Immortal beast inside the barrier. I didn't expect a mid-stage Heaven Immortal beast to appear." Ning Yu was speechless. His luck was too bad. Encountering a mid-stage Heaven Immortal beast before they even entered the deepest area was the worst thing that could happen to them. This was because killing a mid-stage Heavenly Immortal demonic beast required a lot of resources. Unbeknownst to Ning Yu, while he was staring at the colossal creature, two cultivators were paying close attention to what was happening in the void a distance away from the barrier. If Ning Yu was here, he would definitely recognize one of the cultivators. It was none other than Immortal Blood Poison, whose clone he had destroyed. Chapter 2033. Immortal Hongling. This martial artist in red was none other than the expert from the primordial demon sect who had convinced Immortal Blood Poison previously, Immortal Hongling. "I hope they won't disappoint me." Immortal Blood Poison crossed his arms over his chest, staring with interest at Ning Yu and the others on the other side of the barrier. Although they were quite far away from Ning Yu's group and were in the void, how could this stop Immortal Blood Poison? Immortal Blood Poison had already seen every move of Ning Yu's group through a secret technique. "Don't be careless. I can sense a rather terrifying aura from Ning Yu's body," Immortal Hongling reminded. Moreover, the person by Ning Yu's side isn't simple as well. He's a human devil who once slaughtered numerous heavenly immortal experts by himself. As a super expert from the primordial demon sect, Immortal Hongling clearly knew more things. Apart from the eight-legged demonic beast, she knew the human demon and five-fingered immortal beside Ning Yu like the back of her hand. "It's fine. The demonic beast over there is called the Dragon Scorpion. Even I would find it difficult to deal with it, let alone Ning Yu's group." Immortal Blood Poison waved his hand and said casually, "We can take this opportunity to observe the overall strength of Ning Yu's group and decide whether to kill them or subdue them." Immortal Hongling frowned slightly when she saw Immortal Blood Poison's arrogance. She wanted to say something, but chose to keep quiet in the end. After all, she had teamed up with Immortal Blood Poison to fight against the Sacred Divine Palace and the other sections. If immortal blood poison was stupid, she wouldn't mind abandoning him and looking for others to work with. She might even look for Ningyu to work with. Immortal Hongling didn't have lifelong friends, much less lifelong enemies. In the face of absolute benefits, anything could happen. That's the dragon scorpion. The eight-legged demonic beast clearly recognized the dragon scorpion. He explained to Ningyu, "We can only kill it or beat it into submission. Otherwise, we won't be able to enter the deepest part of the Great Dao Valley." Beat it into submission? Ningyu smiled bitterly. Strictly speaking, it was more difficult to subdue a mid-stage heaven immortal demonic beast like the dragon scorpion than to kill them. Therefore, Ningyu did not think that the eight-legged monster would subdue the dragon scorpion beast. Human devil. Ningyu took a deep breath and turned to the human demon, saying, "You and I will attack together. We must finish off this scorpion beast." "All right." The human demon nodded and leaped into the air, hovering next to Ningyu. "I sense a familiar aura from you." Just as Ningyu and the human demon were about to take action, the dragon scorpion suddenly spoke. "Could it be that you are that person's disciple?" Ningyu and the human devil were both surprised. They didn't expect the dragon scorpion to speak, and from its expression, it didn't seem to want to be their enemy. Ningyu pondered for a moment and guessed who that person the dragon scorpion beast was referring to. Origin, creation, immortal. The person the dragon scorpion beast was talking about was 100% origin, creation, immortal. "I'm not his disciple." Ningyu shook his head at the dragon scorpion beast. What a pity. Ningyu's action caused the dragon scorpion beast to reveal a disappointed expression. That's right, it was disappointed, and it didn't seem to be faking it. "Although I'm not his disciple, I have a good relationship with him." Ningyu made up his mind and took out the Origin Creation Divine Stick. Boom! As soon as Ningyu took out the Origin Creation Divine Stick, the dragon scorpion beast's eyes widened and a terrifying aura emanated from its body. "I can't believe it." Even though Ningyu had a lot of self-control, he couldn't help but curse when he felt the aura of the dragon scorpion beast. Strong. It's too strong. The dragon scorpion beast wasn't a mid-stage sky immortal demon beast. Its real cultivation level should be late-stage sky immortal. Moreover, the late-stage heaven immortal stage of the dragon scorpion beast was different from the red fiend. In other words, the two red fiends weren't a match for the dragon scorpion beast. "Why do you have the Origin Creation Divine Stick?" "Sigh, I should have known." The dragon scorpion beast seemed to want to reprimand Ningyu, but it sighed and fell into deep thought as if it had recalled something. What's going on? Did Ningyu make the dragon scorpion beast submit? Blood Poison Immortal, who was in the void on the other side of the barrier, couldn't help but open his mouth and ask in confusion. Blood Poison Immortal wanted the dragon scorpion beast to deal with Ningyu. At the very least, he wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson. Therefore, when he found out that the dragon scorpion beast was a late-stage sky immortal, Blood Poison Immortal was excited for a long time. However, all of this disappeared with the dragon scorpion beast's silence. Blood Poison Immortal's face turned extremely ugly. He clenched his fists and said fiercely, "I didn't expect you to be related to the dragon scorpion beast." How smart was Blood Poison Immortal? Thinking about it, he realized the crux of the matter. It must be because of the Origin Creation Divine Stick. Otherwise, the dragon scorpion beast wouldn't have stopped attacking for no reason. "I want the Origin Creation Divine Stick." A cold light shot out of Immortal Blood Poison's eyes. At that moment, he secretly made up his mind. Even if he couldn't snatch the fortuitous opportunities in the Dao Valley, he would capture Ningyu and take away the Origin Creation Divine Staff. This matter was the most important to him, and its importance was rated at 3 stars. Ningyu and his group aren't simple. Perhaps guessing what Blood Poison Immortal was thinking, Immortal Hongling's lips curled up slightly. "I suggest that we continue on our way. It's best not to waste time here. Humph! What a woman! Blood poison immortal snorted. The dragon scorpion beast can't cross the barrier. If we join forces, even 10 Ningyus will die in our hands. Boom! Immortal Hongling's aura was instantly released. Taking a step forward, Immortal Hongling said coldly, "If there's a next time, I don't mind sparring with you." Hiss! Although Immortal Hongling's aura disappeared in a flash, it still made Blood Poison Immortal gasp. She hid her strength well. Previously, Blood Poison Immortal had thought that Immortal Hongling was just an ordinary mid-stage heaven immortal martial artist. But now, he was almost certain that Immortal Hongling was not simple. Even if he used his full strength, he might not be able to completely suppress Immortal Hongling. In fact, if Immortal Hongling had a trump card, he might even be defeated. Although he was shocked, Blood Poison Immortal still snorted coldly and said no more. As the saying went, one mustn't lose face. Blood Poison Immortal didn't want to lose face in front of Immortal Hongling. You are indeed the one he chose. On the other side, the dragon scorpion beast stared at Ningyu and said, "Give me the Origin Creation Divine Stick." You want the Origin Creation Divine Stick? Ningyu's expression changed slightly. Although the dragon scorpion beast wasn't hostile toward him, it didn't mean that he would obediently hand over the Origin Creation Divine Stick. Chapter 2034. Don't worry, I have no enmity towards you. Perhaps sensing Ningyu's worry, the dragon scorpion waved his hand and said, "I just want to take a look at the Origin Creation Divine Staff." Ningyu frowned slightly and said, "I know you have no enmity towards me, but I won't hand the Origin Creation Divine Staff to you unless you can convince me." "You're not afraid of me?" The dragon scorpion took a step forward and unleashed his aura, pressuring towards Ningyu. The dragon scorpion was a late-stage heaven immortal, so his aura was naturally very powerful. Even though Ningyu was prepared, he couldn't help but grimace in the face of the late-stage heaven immortal's aura. Fortunately, the human demon and the five-fingered immortal also unleashed their auras to resist the dragon scorpion's aura. Otherwise, Ningyu would have definitely called out the Hong Mo. Although the dragon scorpion was very powerful, it was hard to tell who would win if they really fought. Swish! The dragon scorpion looked at Ningyu meaningfully and retracted his aura. "Sigh, I'm not here to snatch the Origin Creation Divine Staff. I'm here to repay a debt of gratitude," the dragon scorpion sighed and explained to Ningyu. "Repay a debt of gratitude?" Ningyu was very confused. However, after thinking about it, he understood what was going on. He had never interacted with the dragon scorpion before, so the dragon scorpion's so-called debt of gratitude was definitely not him, but Origin Creation Immortal. "I remember now, you're that little scorpion." Right at this moment, the eight-legged demon beast at the side seemed to have thought of something, and it immediately shouted. The dragon scorpion felt a little embarrassed when he heard the eight-legged demon's words. He was a late-stage heaven immortal, yet the eight-legged demon called him a little scorpion. How was he going to establish himself in the Dao Valley if word got out? "What's going on?" asked Ningyu, having noticed some clues. The eight-legged beast sorted out his thoughts and slowly said, "I'll have to start from when immortal creation first entered the Great Dao Valley." It turned out that the last time immortal creation entered the Great Dao Valley, the dragon scorpion beast was still very weak. In fact, it could only be considered a scorpion and not a scorpion dragon. At that time, the dragon scorpion beast was besieged by a few powerful demonic beasts. During that time, immortal Origin Creation couldn't bear to watch and casually saved the dragon scorpion beast. After rescuing the dragon scorpion beast, immortal Origin Creation casually left it behind and continued deeper into the Great Dao Valley with the eight-legged demon beast. As the saying goes, the rescuer has no intention, but the rescued have the intention. Ever since then, the dragon scorpion beast had been guarding this place, waiting for immortal creation to choose to repay his kindness. Unfortunately, ever since then, immortal essence creation seemed to have forgotten about the Great Tao Valley and never came back. Now that the dragon scorpion sensed the aura of the origin creating divine rod from Ningyu, it naturally transferred the promise it had made to Ningyu. I see. Ningyu nodded his head gently. Since this matter came from the mouth of the eight-legged demon beast, it was most likely true. Moreover, the dragon-scorpion beast's attitude was not bad, so Ningyu simply threw the origin-creating divine rod at the dragon-scorpion beast. According to Ningyu's guess, immortal creation would definitely leave a trump card in the origin-creating divine rod. Even if the dragon-scorpion beast wanted to snatch the origin-creating divine rod, it would most likely fail. But, looking at the origin-creating divine rod that was continuously charging at it, the dragon-scorpion beast took a deep breath and immediately controlled the origin-creating divine rod to float in front of it. What happened next left Ningyu and the others dumbfounded. The dragon-scorpion beast did not do anything. It just stared at the origin-creating divine rod floating in front of it, as if it was immersed in some kind of memory. Drip, drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. What the hell is going on? Immortal Blood Poison's expression was very ugly. He had originally thought that the dragon-scorpion beast would become enemies with Ningyu, or at least severely injure Ningyu and the others. Who would have thought that not only would the dragon-scorpion beast not become enemies with Ningyu and the others, it would also stare at the origin-creating divine rod in a daze. A bad omen. Immortal Blood Poison turned to look at Immortal Hongling and said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, we should kill our way over." Kill our way over? Immortal Hongling was slightly startled. Then, she said, did you not notice the dragon-scorpion beast's cultivation? If it's just one dragon-scorpion beast, I might choose to attack. But if Ningyu and the human demon are involved, I think you should just save it, unless you are willing to sacrifice yourself to kill 1,000 enemies. Don't provoke me. Immortal Blood Poison looked coldly at Immortal Hongling. Immortal Hongling shrugged her shoulders and did not continue speaking. The more Immortal Hongling acted like this, the angrier Immortal Blood Poison became. However, when he thought of the dragon-scorpion beast's formidable strength, Immortal Blood Poison finally chose to compromise and did not continue arguing with Immortal Hongling. This was because Immortal Blood Poison knew very well that now was not the time to bicker with Immortal Hongling. The two of them had a common enemy. Before they dealt with this common enemy, it was not suitable for them to have a falling out. Roar. All of a sudden, the dragon-scorpion beast opened its mouth and roared angrily. Swish. As the dragon-scorpion beast roared, a fist-sized golden inner core suddenly flew out of its mouth. What? Seeing the golden inner core fly out of the dragon-scorpion beast's mouth, the expressions of Ningyu and the human demon changed drastically. Without a doubt, this inner core belonged to the dragon-scorpion beast. No matter what, Ningyu and the others would never have imagined that the dragon-scorpion beast would actually take out its inner core. One must know that for a Yao beast, losing its inner core meant that its overall combat strength would decrease by at least half. Crack! Under the shocked gazes of Ningyu and the others, a terrifying devouring force shot out of the essence creating divine staff. Obviously, this devouring force easily devoured the inner core that the dragon-scorpion beast had taken out. Buzz! After swallowing the inner core, the essence creating divine staff vibrated slightly. This! Ningyu's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. 30%. Now, he could already use 30% of the essence creating divine staff's power. 25% of the essence creating divine staff's power allowed Ningyu to easily deal with a peak mid-stage heaven immortal. Now that he could use 30% of the essence creating divine staff's power, Ningyu's overall combat strength was close to a late-stage heaven immortal. It was no exaggeration to say that if Ningyu could have a few more heaven immortal nomological laws, he would be able to easily deal with a late-stage heaven immortal if he encountered one. There are two very strong people not far away. I hope you'll be careful. The dragon-scorpion beast glanced at immortal Xue Du and immortal Hongling, who were hiding in the void in the distance. Then, it tore open the void and entered. In an instant, the dragon-scorpion beast disappeared. Swish! After the dragon-scorpion beast disappeared, the essence-creating divine staff drew an arc in the air and returned to Ningyu. Ningyu first bowed deeply in the direction that the dragon-scorpion beast disappeared, then reached out his right hand and grasped the essence-creating divine staff. Boom! Chapter 2035. Dragon Scorpion. Almost in an instant, Ningyu understood. The reason why there was energy shooting out of the origin-creating divine rod was entirely because of the dragon-scorpion beast. The dragon-scorpion beast had mentioned not only allowing the essence-creation divine rod to display 30% of its power, but also providing Ningyu with a huge amount of energy. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the energy provided by the dragon-scorpion beast could double Ningyu's strength. Buzz. As the energy entered his body, Ningyu's body buzzed. Ningyu wasn't stupid. Since the dragon-scorpion beast had given up its inner core to provide him with energy, he naturally wouldn't disappoint it. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu sat down cross-legged. Ningyu quickly circulated the spirit transformation art and began to refine the enormous energy that entered his body. The dragon-scorpion beast was willing to give up its inner core. While Ningyu was devouring the energy in his body, the human demon's expression turned solemn. To be honest, the human demon was shocked by the dragon-scorpion beast's actions. For a demon beast, losing its inner core could reduce its strength by more than half, or even put its life in danger. The dragon-scorpion beast was willing to give up its inner core to repay a debt of gratitude. This courage alone was enough to make the human demon look at it in a different light. You've all been deceived by the dragon-scorpion beast. Seeing the human demon's solemn expression, the eight-legged demon rolled its eyes and said, "The dragon-scorpion beast has 2 inner cores in total. Even if it gave up one, it wouldn't matter much." 2 inner cores? The human demon exclaimed. It was rare to see a demon beast with 2 inner cores, even in a high-level plane. Moreover, the human demon knew about the dragon-scorpion beast, but he had never heard of it having 2 inner cores. Ordinary dragon-scorpion beasts naturally only have 1 inner core, but that dragon-scorpion beast was different. Its second inner core was completely given to it by Origin Creation Immortal. The eight-legged demon explained. When Origin Creation Immortal saved the dragon-scorpion beast, he had given it a profound immortal-level demon beast's inner core. Otherwise, how could the dragon-scorpion beast advance to the late-stage heaven immortal stage in such a short time? Even if the dragon-scorpion beast tried its best to refine a Xian immortal-level inner core, it could only refine a portion of it. The dragon-scorpion beast couldn't refine the rest of the cores. Since it was unable to refine the inner core, the dragon-scorpion beast decided to hand it over to Ningyu. This could be considered as repaying immortal Origin Creation for saving it back then. From then on, they no longer owed each other anything. Rumble. Not long after, a terrifying voice came from Ningyu's body. Hiss. Sensing the aura emanating from Ningyu's body, the human demon couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air despite knowing how terrifying the inner core was. The current Ningyu's cultivation base was still at the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm, but it gave the human devil an extremely terrifying feeling. This feeling was as if he was facing an expert at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm. Ningyu. The human demon looked at Ningyu, his mouth agape. I was lucky to increase my strength a little. Ningyu smiled faintly, then stood up and walked toward the depths of the Great Dao Valley. Although he had a lot of doubts, it wasn't appropriate for the human demon to ask since Ningyu didn't say anything. Therefore, the human demon could only suppress the doubts in his heart and follow closely behind Ningyu with the eight-legged demon and the five-fingered immortal. As the person involved, although Ningyu looked calm on the surface, a storm had already been set off in his heart. The opportunity given by the dragon-scorpion beast, no, it should be the opportunity given by immortal origin creation, was simply too shocking. At this moment, Ningyu was even more curious about immortal origin creation's identity. This was because the energy that shot out from the origin creation divine rod was not just energy, there was also something that shocked him. A mysterious immortal law. Above the heavenly immortal was the mysterious immortal law. It could be said that even if several heavenly immortal laws were combined, they wouldn't be able to resist a mysterious immortal law. This was the domineering nature of a mysterious immortal law. At this moment, there was already a mysterious immortal law in Ningyu's body. He had a mysterious immortal law in his body before advancing to the heavenly immortal realm, and he could control it effortlessly. Throughout the ages, Ningyu was probably the only one who could do this. How strong am I exactly? For the first time, Ningyu felt lost about his own strength. Previously, he could fight against a mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martial artist with the red demon sword without using the origin creation divine rod. But now, he could fight against a mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martial artist without using the red demon sword. He could even kill a mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martial artist with ease. He could even kill a late-stage heavenly immortal realm martial artist with ease. There was no other reason. He had a mysterious immortal law in his body. The mysterious immortal law was extremely domineering. Even though Ningyu only had one mysterious immortal law, he could easily kill a late-stage heavenly immortal realm martial artist. Unless he encountered a pinnacle heavenly immortal super expert, Ningyu could do whatever he wanted in the Great Dao Valley. He's finally here. In the depths of the Great Dao Valley, Immortal Blood Poison's figure flashed and suddenly appeared in the void. Immortal Redling, who was beside Immortal Blood Poison, frowned slightly. She did not know why, but her sharp senses kept feeling that Ningyu was a little different. Her rationality told her that this was not the right time to clash with Ningyu. She should avoid him and temporarily enter the depths of the Great Dao Valley to search for opportunities. However, when she saw the origin creation divine rod in Ningyu's hand, she ultimately chose to stay where she was. Long time no see. Looking at Immortal Blood Poison, who had appeared in front of him, Ningyu's lips curled up slightly. I'll give you a chance to live now. Submit to me. Submit to you. Immortal Blood Poison seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He first threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, he said coldly, a piece of trash like you is not qualified. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and hand over the origin creation divine rod. Otherwise, I'll let you know why flowers are so red. As he spoke, Immortal Blood Poison took a step forward and released his aura. Late-stage Heaven Immortal. At this moment, Immortal Blood Poison released his aura without holding anything back. In order to obtain the origin creation divine rod and avoid any unforeseen events, Immortal Blood Poison was going all out. Rumble. Next to Immortal Blood Poison, Immortal Red Ling frowned and released her aura as well. Late-stage Heaven Immortal. Like Immortal Blood Poison, Immortal Red Ling's cultivation was also at the late-stage Heaven Immortal. Swoosh. Sensing the aura released by Immortal Blood Poison and Immortal Red Ling, Hong Fiend's figure flashed and he darted out of the Red Fiend's sword, standing in front of Ningyu. Holding the Red Fiend's sword, Hong Fiend said coldly, "If you want to deal with Ningyu, you'll have to get past me first." Heavenly Treasure? And its level is at the late-stage Heavenly Treasure? Immortal Blood Poison's attention was not on Hong Fiend, but on the Red Fiend's sword. Although Hong Fiend's cultivation was also at the late-stage Heaven Immortal, he was only equivalent to the weakest late-stage Heaven Immortal. Naturally, immortal blood poison was not afraid of him. Chapter 2036. Clap, clap, clap. Immortal blood poison clapped his hands and could not help but say, "Good, very good, very good. Now, hand over the flying sword in your hand, and I will spare your wretched life. You're courting death. When had Red Fiend ever suffered such humiliation?" His eyes turned cold, and he leaped into the air, charging at immortal blood poison with the Red Fiend's sword in hand. "You overestimate yourself." Seeing Red Fiend charging at him, immortal blood poison's lips curled into a smile. He flicked his right hand, and a beam of cold light shot out. Chi! The beam of cold light was very fast, so fast that it made a hissing sound as it rubbed against the air. Ding! In the blink of an eye, the beam of cold light collided with the Red Fiend's sword. A crisp sound rang out, and the Red Fiend's sword flew out of Red Fiend's hand, falling straight to the ground. Bang! Immortal blood poison was not satisfied after striking the Red Fiend's sword. He clenched his fists and charged out again. This time, his fist landed on Red Fiend's body, sending him flying several meters away. Swish! If not for the human demon catching Red Fiend at the critical moment, Red Fiend's injuries would have worsened. Even so, Red Fiend's aura was weak, and he did not look very well. "I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it." Immortal blood poison shrugged at Red Fiend, then shifted his gaze to Ningyu. He said calmly, "Hand over the Origin Divine Staff. I don't want to repeat myself." "Submit," or Ningyu's expression was indifferent. He paused for a moment, then said coldly, "Die." When Ningyu said the word "die," the temperature of the entire area instantly dropped by dozens of degrees, becoming bone-chilling. Immortal blood venom stared fixedly at Ningyu, as though he had just seen something terrifying. Even his words began to stutter. "Run." In almost an instant, immortal blood poison made his decision. Run. He would run as far as he could. At this moment, immortal blood poison had no backbone. All he wanted to do was run. What the hell is going on? Immortal blood poison's sudden escape left the human fiend god and the eight-legged Yao rather flabbergasted. As they saw it, Ningyu hadn't even attacked yet. Why had immortal blood poison chosen to flee? Immortal blood poison, this is all your fault. Immortal blood poison was not the only one who chose to flee. Even immortal Hongling, who was beside him, turned pale with fright and fled at top speed. The human devil and the eight-legged demonic beast couldn't see the profound immortal law on Ningyu's body, but as late-stage heaven immortal experts, they could naturally see through it. Even though they were extremely confident in their strengths, under the formidable deterrence of the mysterious immortal laws, they still chose to flee at the first possible moment. "Can you escape?" The corner of Ningyu's lips curled up slightly. Then, he tore open the void and entered it. Buzz. After Ningyu left, the area instantly returned to peace, and the temperature also returned to normal. Beat, beat, beat. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 seconds passed, and when the 4th second arrived, Kacha! The void suddenly split open, and a figure slowly appeared from within. Ningyu! The martial artist who appeared from the void was Ningyu. However, Ningyu was carrying a martial artist in each of his hands, immortal blood poison in his left hand, and immortal Hongling in his right. Bang! Bang! Ningyu flung his hands, tossing immortal blood poison and immortal Hongling to the ground. At this moment, immortal blood poison and immortal Hongling were like dead dogs, their eyes dim and lifeless. "Ningyu, how did you do it?" The human devil, eight-legged demonic beast, and immortal five-fingered exclaimed. Only Red Fiend frowned slightly, looking at Ningyu thoughtfully. Even though he hadn't truly advanced to the late-stage heaven immortal stage, Red Fiend could unleash the combat power of a late-stage heaven immortal. The human devil and eight-legged demonic beast were unable to discover the profound immortal laws, but Red Fiend could vaguely sense some clues. I'm relying on this. Ningyu didn't hide anything. With a thought, he summoned the profound immortal laws in his body, and they hovered above his palm. Gasp! Looking at the profound immortal laws hovering above Ningyu's palm, the human devil and eight-legged demonic beast gasped. Profound immortal laws. After a mere second of shock, the human devil and the rest revealed looks of ecstasy. They naturally knew what profound immortal laws meant. Profound immortal laws meant that unless they encountered a peak heaven immortal expert, their group would dominate the entire Great Tao Valley. Ningyu, how many profound immortal laws do you have in total? The eight-legged demonic beast swallowed his saliva and asked. How many do I have? I'm already very lucky to have one. Ningyu rolled his eyes, then kicked immortal blood poison and said, Have you thought it through? Submit to me or choose death. You want me to submit to you? In your next life. Immortal blood poison's expression was cold as he said viciously. Crack. Ningyu didn't waste words with immortal blood venom. Instead, he stomped down on immortal blood venom's head, causing it to explode. Then, Ningyu, along with immortal blood poison's primordial spirit and corpse, were thrown into his storage ring. After all, the Dark Emperor and Ninglu were in the storage ring. Ningyu did not want to favor one and discriminate against the other. I'll go in and watch. The Red Devil immediately fused with the Red Devil sword and quickly entered the storage ring. Although immortal blood poison's head had been crushed, his primordial spirit was still there. The Red Devil was worried that Ninglu and the human devil would be in danger, so he wanted to enter the storage ring to help them. Along the way, the Red Devil had enjoyed the power of 500 Great Tao alone. To be honest, the Red Devil felt a little bad. Now that there were benefits, he naturally would not ask for more. Let me introduce myself. Ningyu fiddled with the profound immortal laws in his hand as his gaze landed on immortal blood poison. For some reason, Ningyu sensed a slightly palpitating aura from immortal blood poison. Of course, it was only palpitating. It did not mean that Ningyu could not kill immortal blood poison. Ningyu's idea was very simple. He wanted to understand the other experts in the Tao Valley through immortal blood poison. I am immortal blood poison from the primordial demon sect. Immortal blood poison regained her composure and said, There are many experts in the Tao Valley. Even if you have the profound immortal laws, you will not be able to dominate the Great Tao Valley. If you have 2 or 3 profound immortal laws, you might be able to gain a foothold in the Tao Valley. However, you only have 1 profound immortal law. At this point, Immortal Hongling shook her head and continued, I'm sorry to say that you only have one choice now. Join forces with me. Only by joining forces with me can you dominate the Great Tao Valley and obtain enough opportunities. One had to admit that immortal blood poison was very good at persuading people. If Ningyu was just an ordinary martial artist, he might have been deceived by her. But unfortunately, Ningyu was not an ordinary martial artist. From the beginning, he had never thought of joining forces with immortal blood poison. Chapter 2037. The so-called opportunity that you speak of. Naturally, Ningyu would not be convinced by immortal Hongling. He stared at her and asked calmly, What exactly is it? Heavenly immortal laws. Immortal Hongling's gaze involuntarily shifted to the demonic human and 8-legged demonic beast at the side. She said in a deep voice, If I'm not wrong, a palace in the deepest part of the Great Tao Valley should be filled with people right now. Ningyu frowned. He vaguely felt that Immortal Hongling was not as simple as she seemed on the surface. Although Immortal Hongling was trying her best to rope him in, it had to be said that this move of hers was a retreat in order to advance. At that thought, Ningyu's brows unfurrowed. If Immortal Hongling was facing someone else, perhaps this move would be effective. Unfortunately, she was facing Ningyu. If she used this move again, it was destined to be fruitless. Actually, there's no conflict of interest between us, nor do we have any enmity between us. We can totally work together. When she saw Ning Yu's expression, Immortal Hongling seemed to have grasped some key point and said again, "When the time comes, I only want 10% of the heavenly immortal laws. The remaining 90% will belong to you. Do you think that I can't obtain those heavenly immortal laws by myself?" Ning Yu did not answer Immortal Hongling's question. Instead, he asked her a question. Thump! Immortal Hongling's heart skipped a beat when she heard Ning Yu's question. At that moment, she was already certain that Ning Yu did not intend to keep her. Her expression was dark and uncertain. Finally, she gritted her teeth and said, "I know another secret." Ning Yu looked at Immortal Hongling with a faint smile but did not say anything. Ning Yu's expression calmed Immortal Hongling down a little. No matter what, as long as Ning Yu gave her a chance to continue speaking, she might be able to survive. After sorting out her thoughts, Immortal Hongling said in a deep voice, "Actually, everyone in the Great Dao Valley is just a goo worm." Goo worm? Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat, but he said calmly, "Tell me about it." Ning Yu naturally knew what goo worms meant. Some places would drive all kinds of goo worms to one place and let them kill each other. And the result of this kind of cannibalism would be the final goo king. When he entered the Great Dao Valley, Ning Yu had the same thought. But in the end, he rejected this thought in his heart. After all, there were martial artists from the Sacred Divine Palace, the Primeval Demon Sect, the Ancient Demon Sect, the Heaven Secrets Sect, and many other powerful forces in the Great Dao Valley, who had the guts to treat them as goo worms. Actually, I only heard about this by chance. In order to survive, Immortal Hongling had no choice but to reveal all the secrets she knew. It turned out that within the Dao Valley, there were a total of several types of fortuitous opportunities. The weakest was the Great Dao energy in the middle. Naturally, those truly strong cultivators would disdain such opportunities. The slightly stronger fortuitous opportunities were located in the Great Dao Palace in the deepest part of the Great Dao Valley. This was because there was a considerable amount of heaven immortal laws in the Great Dao Palace. Of course, the most tempting opportunity was in the passageway that led to the higher planes. That passage was called the Path to Heaven. It was rumored that there were not only Xian immortal laws in the Path to Heaven, but also the corpses of Xian immortals. The Path to Heaven, as its name suggested, was a path from a low-level plane to a high-level plane. What does this have to do with raising goo worms? Ning Yu frowned because Immortal Hongling did not explain the specific reason. She glanced at Ning Yu and said solemnly, "The Path to Heaven only allows martial artists below the Xian immortal level to enter. As for those who have reached the Xian immortal level, they are not allowed to enter. If I'm not wrong, there should be several powerful forces at the end of the Path to Heaven, and the weakest among them is a half-step Xian immortal." Gasp! Hearing Immortal Hongling's explanation, the human demon and the eight-legged demonic beast gasped. They did not expect such a secret to exist. Since there were Xian immortals guarding the end of the Path to Heaven, why did they risk their lives to enter the Path to Heaven? One must know that even if they obtained a great opportunity, they would not be a match for Xian immortals. We have no other choice. As if sensing the confusion in the human demon and the eight-legged demonic beast, Immortal Hongling continued, "Those Xian immortal lords have already taken control of the immortal spirit realm. If we want to return to a high-level plane, we can only go through the Path to Heaven. If you want to stay in the immortal spirit realm for the rest of your life, you naturally do not need to participate." At this time, the human demon and the eight-legged demonic beast finally understood. Who did not want to enter a high-level plane? Staying in the immortal spirit realm meant that they would never be able to break through to a higher level. Even heaven immortals had a limited lifespan. Immortal Hongling was right. Unless they wanted to stay in the immortal spirit realm for the rest of their lives, most people would come to the Great Dao Valley. I want to know which forces the Xian immortals at the other end of the Path to Heaven are from. Ningyu stared into Immortal Hongling's eyes and asked. Ningyu could almost be sure that Immortal Hongling was not lying to him. Since Immortal Hongling was not lying to him, then he had to clarify some things. At the very least, he had to know which forces the experts guarding the other end of the path to heaven were from. Sacred Divine Palace, Primordial Demon Sect, Ancient Demon Sect, Fallen Spirits Sect and Heaven Secrets Sect. Immortal Hongling did not dare to hide anything and answered honestly. You mean to say that all of you have been abandoned? Ningyu frowned. Whether it was Immortal Hongling or the peerless geniuses like the demonic Tua Divine Sun, they were all the pillars of these forces. Even though the Sacred Divine Palace and the other sects were huge forces that ruled over several territories, losing one or even several peerless geniuses was still painful. Why do you think the Sacred Divine Palace and the other sects would scheme against their own peerless geniuses? Don't they feel heartache? Immortal Hongling asked. However, before Ningyu could answer, Immortal Hongling explained, apart from the Heaven Secrets Sect, the strongest experts of these forces are all half-step Xian immortals. And the most crucial point is that their lifespans are reaching the limit. That's why they are willing to take the risk and sacrifice the peerless geniuses of their sects to obtain some Xian immortal laws from the path to heaven. Because to them, one Xian immortal law can allow them to live for another 10,000 years. After saying this, Immortal Hongling did not speak further. Instead, she quietly waited for Ningyu's decision. If Ningyu still chose to kill her, then she could only fight back. But if Ningyu chose to keep her, then her persuasion would become invaluable. You've convinced me, so I'll keep you by my side for the time being. However, if you have the slightest thought of resisting, I'll kill you instantly. Chapter 2038. Swoosh. Immortal Hongling merely frowned slightly as she looked at the soul power flying towards her. She did not do anything out of line. At this moment, Immortal Hongling knew very well that if she dared to make any strange movements, Ningyu would kill her. This was evident from the five-fingered immortal. What Ningyu wanted was absolute obedience. As for those who didn't obey him, he would kill them without leaving any future troubles. Since there was no way she could resist, Immortal Hongling released her consciousness and allowed Ningyu to control her. That's smart. Ningyu nodded in satisfaction at Immortal Hongling's actions. Just as Immortal Hongling had thought, as long as she had any ulterior motives, he would kill her. Lead the way. Controlling Immortal Hongling did not take up too much of Ningyu's time. A moment later, Ningyu waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Let's go to the Great Tao Hall first." No problem. Immortal Hongling leaped up and headed straight for the Great Tao Hall. Ningyu, the human demon, the eight-legged beast, and the five-fingered immortal followed closely behind her. Meanwhile, in the deepest part of the Great Tao Valley, in front of the Great Tao Hall, swoosh! Every once in a while, a few figures would tear through the void and appear. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely notice that the weakest of the martial artists that appeared from the void was an early-stage Heaven Immortal. As for martial artists below the Heaven Immortal level, there was no way they could come here. Buzz! Suddenly, the void trembled. Two young martial artists slowly walked out of the void. Should we go in first? One of the two young martial artists, a man in his 20s, scanned the surroundings and said, "If the two of us join forces, we can easily break through the door of the Great Tao Hall." The other young woman glanced at the man who had spoken, then found a secluded spot and chose to close her eyes to rest. The young woman's actions caused a cold look to surface in the young man's eyes. But very quickly, this cold gaze disappeared and was replaced with indifference. "Zhao Rui, you can't escape from me." The corners of the young man's mouth rose into an arc, but he didn't say another word. What? In the following period of time, experts would appear from time to time. However, these martial artists were very well behaved and did not make a ruckus. They all randomly found a place to stop. About an hour later. Ahem. Jin Hua stood up. His gaze paused on Zhao Rui for a moment. After obtaining Zhao Rui's approval, he coughed dryly twice and spoke in a clear voice. I shall not say any more unnecessary words. Since everyone is able to come here, let's state our purpose. Gotcha! However, before Jin Hua could finish his sentence, a crack was heard in the void. Following that, several figures appeared. The sudden turn of events caused Jin Hua's expression to turn extremely unsightly. Whoosh! However, while Jin Hua's expression was ugly, Zhao Rui, who was beside him, suddenly opened her eyes and glared at the leading cultivator. Ningyu! Zhao Rui! Almost at the same time, Zhao Rui and the leading martial artist spoke in unison. Jin Hua's eyes were fixed on Ningyu. After all, Zhao Rui had praised Ningyu in front of him more than once. Now that Ningyu had appeared, he naturally had to carefully observe him. After Zhao Rui and Ningyu spoke in unison, they were met with a brief moment of silence. In the end, it was Ningyu who broke the silence and asked, I heard that you were taken away by a mysterious expert. As he spoke, Ningyu's gaze landed on Jin Hua, intentionally or unintentionally. Undisguised. Ningyu's gaze was undisguised and undisguised. Ningyu's meaning was clear. As long as Zhao Rui gave the word, he would take down Jin Hua on the spot. Gotcha! Ningyu's undisguised gaze made Jin Hua's already gloomy expression turn even colder. He's my friend. How could Zhao Rui not know what Ningyu meant? She laughed bitterly and pointed to Jin Hua as she explained, When I entered the Dao Valley, he was the first to find me. The reason why Zhao Rui explained Jin Hua's identity to Ningyu was that she did not want Ningyu to misunderstand. On the other hand, she did not want Ningyu and Jin Hua to have a conflict. After all, in her opinion, Ningyu was definitely not Jin Hua's match. Although Ningyu gave her a mysterious and unfathomable feeling, she still felt that Jin Hua would win. I hope so. Ningyu shrugged and did not comment. To be honest, anyone with eyes could tell that Jin Hua was definitely up to no good. Because of his relationship with Zhao Rui, otherwise, Ningyu would definitely teach Jin Hua a lesson. Because the moment he appeared, Jin Hua had a deep enmity towards him. Did I offend you? Have we met before? Ningyu's attitude towards life was that he would do anything for his friends and kill all his enemies. Crack, crack, crack. Seeing Ningyu's indifferent face with a hint of disdain, Jin Hua clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. Swoosh. In an instant, Jin Hua stamped his feet on the ground and rushed out. When Jin Hua was in the high-level Central Divine Dynasty, he had never been bullied like this. He was an absolute genius ranked in the top 50 of the Central Divine Dynasty. Even some peak experts in the mid-sized territories would be polite when they saw him, for fear of offending him. However, Ningyu not only looked at him with a hint of disdain, but also ignored him. This was really intolerable. Red Devil. Ningyu frowned slightly, glanced at Zhao Rui casually, and then handed over Red Devil. Ningyu did not plan to deal with Jin Hua. After all, he now had two trump cards, the mysterious immortal law and the origin divine staff. It was difficult to compete with Jin Hua with his own strength. But Red Devil was different. Ningyu knew very well that although he had thrown Immortal Blood Poison's corpse and Primordial Spirit into his storage ring for the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu to devour, Red Devil had gained a lot of benefits. Because Immortal Blood Poison's Primordial Spirit was too powerful, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu could not refine it with their strength. Therefore, Immortal Blood Poison's Primordial Spirit naturally fell on Red Devil. If Red Devil's strength was only at the late-stage Heaven Immortal before, then his current strength could contend with some veteran late-stage Heaven Immortal expert. Red Devil knew that Ningyu wanted to establish his dominance, so he did not hold back and used his full strength in the first move. Red Devil waved the Red Devil sword in his hand, and in an instant, a terrifying sword light shot out. Oh no! Seeing the sword light shot out from the red devil sword, Jin Hua's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly gathered the primordial qi in his body on his fist and punched out. What Jin Hua was afraid of was not Red Devil, but the Red Devil sword in his hand. As a peerless genius of the Central Divine Dynasty, Jin Hua could tell at a glance that the Red Devil sword had reached the late-stage heavenly treasure. The late-stage heavenly treasure was not scary. What was scary was that it could exert its full strength in the hands of Red Devil. Damn it! Jin Hua could not help but curse. Now Jin Hua regretted not using his full strength. Chapter 2039. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. In my opinion, let's forget about it this time. Before Jin Hua's fist came into contact with Hong Mo's sword gleam, an indifferent voice resounded in the area. Swoosh! The moment the voice rang out, the void suddenly split open, and a warrior in gray rushed out. It seemed like the warrior in gray was trying to mediate, but in fact, his target was Hong Mo, not Jin Hua. Crack! The warrior in gray clenched his right fist and punched the sword gleam before Jin Hua. A crisp sound rang out, and Hong Mo's sword gleam instantly broke. Good chance. Jin Hua naturally would not let go of such a good opportunity. Taking advantage of this gap, he came right in front of Hong Mo and punched Hong Mo's chest with a violent Yuan Qi gale. Hong Mo spat out a mouthful of blood after being punched in the chest by Jin Hua, and his breath became a little weak. Swoosh! Seeing Hong Mo get hit by Jin Hua, Ning Yu's face instantly darkened. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that if the warrior in gray had not suddenly appeared, Jin Hua would definitely have been defeated by Hong Mo. After all, Jin Hua was careless and did not use his full strength. Now that the warrior in gray had appeared, it had completely disrupted Ning Yu's plans, forcing him to show up. That's right. We should be more friendly to each other. The warrior in gray shrugged and said with a smile, "Later, we will enter the temple together. There's no need for conflict at this time. If there's any misunderstanding, we can sit down and discuss it." Humph! Jin Hua snorted coldly and did not continue to get involved. Jin Hua was not a hothead. He was very clear that the gray-clothed martial artist was targeting Ning Yu. He could sit back and watch the tigers fight. He could see whether Ning Yu was pretending to be weak or just a wax statue. Do you know his identity? Ning Yu ignored the gray-robed cultivator. Instead, he turned around and asked Immortal Hong Ling. Since the warrior in gray had interfered, Ning Yu naturally would not let it go. An expert from Sacred Divine Palace. Hong Ling Immortal answered honestly. Kill. Right after Immortal Hong Ling spoke, Ning Yu pushed off the ground and rushed at the gray-robed cultivator. As expected, I fell for it. When the gray-robed cultivator saw Ning Yu charging at him, the corners of his lips curled up as if his scheme had succeeded. Buzz. As the gray-robed cultivator spoke, the space beside him trembled. Then 2 martial artists appeared. Late-stage Heaven Immortal. Both of them were at the late-stage Heaven Immortal realm. One was Immortal Brydove from the Ancient Devil sect, while the other was Immortal Baldy from the Fallen Spirits sect. Be careful! Human Devil and Zhao Rui cried out at the same time when they saw the 2 late Heaven Immortal experts. However, neither of them did anything. The Human Devil didn't attack, because he knew that Ning Yu had the Xian Immortal Law and the Origin Creation Divine Staff. Even if 3 late Heaven Immortal experts joined forces, they might not be a match for Ning Yu. Zhao Rui didn't attack because she was stopped by Jin Hua. I can see that Ning Yu's aura is restrained, and he doesn't panic at all. He should be able to deal with Immortal Brydove and the others easily. Jin Hua glanced at Ning Yu, who was rushing out, and said with a fake smile, "Didn't you say that Ning Yu is very strong? If he can't even deal with 3 late-stage Heaven Immortals, how can he join our Central Divine Dynasty?" You. Zhao Rui's face darkened. She did say that she wanted Ning Yu to join the Central Divine Dynasty. Now that Jean Hua had brought this up, she was very angry. But as angry as she was, Zhao Rui still had hope for Ningyu. Zhao Rui knew very well that Ningyu would never do something he wasn't sure of. Since Ningyu had chosen to attack, it meant that Ningyu was confident. Ha ha ha, Immortal Withered Crane, you did well. Immortal Brightdove threw his head back and laughed wildly, then said to the gray-robed warrior, "It seems that joining forces with you was a wise choice. Kill." The gloomy immortal didn't say much, just one word. Essence creating divine staff. Ningyu injected all the essence chi in his body into the essence creating divine staff and smashed it at Immortal Withered Crane. Now, Ningyu could use 30% of the essence creating divine staff's power. 30% of the essence creating divine staff's power was only enough for Ningyu to deal with peak mid-stage heaven immortals, but not late-stage heaven immortals. The reason why Ningyu used the essence creating divine staff instead of the mysterious immortal laws was not because he didn't want to kill Immortal Withered Crane and the others, but because he wanted to lure out the mastermind. In other words, in the void in front of the Tao Palace, Ningyu felt an extremely powerful aura. If he was right, the true cultivation level of the owner of this aura should be peak late-stage heaven immortal. Ningyu planned to leave the mysterious immortal laws to this warrior hiding in the void. Red Fiend. Therefore, after smashing the staff, Ningyu immediately shouted in a low voice. Swoosh. The Red Fiend immediately fused with the Red Fiend's sword and flew rapidly to Ningyu. But Ningyu held the Red Fiend's sword in his left hand and the essence creating divine staff in his right hand, continuously attacking Immortal Withered Crane and the others. With the essence creating divine staff, Ningyu could fight against peak mid-stage heaven immortals. With the Red Fiend's sword, Ningyu could fight against late-stage heaven immortals. Now that Ningyu had used both the Red Fiend's sword and the essence creating divine staff, he was actually evenly matched with Immortal Withered Crane and the others. Jean Hua would never have expected such a situation. Damn it! Jean Hua was so angry that his nose was crooked. Jean Hua could tell that Immortal Withered Crane and the others had not used their full strength. Otherwise, even if Ningyu had the Red Fiend's sword and the essence creating divine staff, he would still be defeated by 3 late-stage heaven immortals. Should I join the battle? Jean Hua was lost in thought. To be honest, Jean Hua really wanted to join the battle. Since Ningyu had used the mysterious immortal laws to hide the aura of the essence creating divine staff, Jean Hua could not tell that the essence creating divine staff was a peak-level mystic treasure. However, although he could not tell the level of the essence creating divine staff, Jean Hua could tell that the essence creating divine staff was definitely not weaker than the Red Fiend's sword. After all, Ningyu had used the full strength of the Red Fiend's sword and only a part of the power of the essence creating divine staff. Under such circumstances, the essence creating divine staff was not inferior to the Red Fiend's sword. One could imagine that the level of the essence creating divine staff was at least a peak-level heavenly treasure. It might even be a mystic treasure. Thinking that the essence creating divine staff might be a mystic treasure, Jean Hua could not contain his excitement and wanted to join the battle. However, Jean Hua's remaining sense of reason prevented him from taking the risk. Who knew if Ningyu had a trump card? Moreover, the martial artist in red that Ningyu had brought back, Immortal Hongling, had not joined the battle. Immortal Hongling's cultivation level was also at the late-stage heaven immortal stage. Jean Hua did not see the slightest hint of worry in her eyes. There were only 2 possibilities for such a situation. First, Immortal Hongling and Ningyu were strangers and did not want to help Ningyu. Chapter 2040. No matter how Jean Hua looked at it, he felt that it was the second possibility. This was because the human demon and the 8-legged demonic beast, who had come with Ningyu, had similar expressions as Immortal Hongling. They did not look worried at all. Let's wait a little longer. Jean Hua took a deep breath and decided to wait a little longer to see how things would develop. In this area, there were many martial artists who had the same idea as Jinhua. After all, the martial artists who could come here were at least early-stage heaven immortals. They all had good eyesight. Still not coming out? Ningyu frowned as he fought with Immortal Withered Crane and the others. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not intend to use the mysterious immortal laws. Especially after learning some secrets from Immortal Hongling, Ningyu did not want to expose the mysterious immortal laws. However, with Ningyu's current strength, he really could not deal with 3 late-stage heaven immortals at the same time without exposing the mysterious immortal laws. Immortal Hongling! Ningyu had no choice but to shout at Immortal Hongling, "Stop him!" Ningyu decided to let Immortal Hongling deal with Immortal Withered Crane, while he dealt with Immortal Bride-Dove and Immortal Baldy. Got it. Immortal Hongling seemed to have known that Ningyu would order her. She didn't hesitate at all to immediately leap up and charge towards Immortal Withered Crane. Interesting. As Ningyu and the others attacked with all their strength, a white-haired old man in the void smiled and said, "You know I'm here, but you still dare to attack. I have to say you're really bold." "Fine, fine. Since you want me to attack, I'll do as you wish." As soon as he finished speaking, the white-haired old man waved his hands repeatedly and dashed out in an instant. The white-haired old man was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the void next to Ningyu. Oh no! How sharp was Ningyu's perception! He had noticed the white-haired old man as soon as he appeared. Rumble! However, right when Ningyu intended to utilize mysterious immortal laws to resist the white-haired old man, a rumbling suddenly sounded out from within the Grand Dao Hall. Kacha! 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 After the rumbling sound, the main door of the Dao Palace suddenly split open. Charge! The one who enters first will get the opportunity first. My talent is high, let me go in first. Great natural talent, my ass. You're already so old, yet your cultivation is only at the initial stage of the heavenly immortal realm. You don't even have the qualifications to carry my shoes. I'm a mid-stage heaven immortal. I'm going in first. I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me. After the main doors of the great Dao Hall were split open, all sorts of screams and curses could be heard. All the cultivators in front of the Great Path Hall fought to be the first to enter the hall. Go! Amongst these people was Immortal Withered Crane, who was currently fighting against Immortal Redling, as well as Immortal Bride-Dove and Immortal Baldy, who were fighting against Ningyu. Even Jinhua rushed out and entered the Great Path Palace. You're lucky. The white-haired old man glanced at Ningyu, then leaped out and rushed into the Great Path Palace. Unlike the others, the white-haired old man casually attacked with both hands as he rushed out. Those cultivators who were unlucky enough to be attacked by the white-haired old man died on the spot. Gasp! The sudden and tragic deaths of so many experts caused the surviving heaven immortals in the surroundings to suck in a breath of cold air. These dead experts did not even get to see the face of their enemy before they were mercilessly killed. How could the remaining cultivators not be shocked? In fact, these cultivators even paused for a moment and did not continue to move. Swoosh! The white-haired old man turned into an afterimage, and in the blink of an eye, he entered the Great Way Palace. Swoosh! After the white-haired old man entered the Great Path Palace, the surrounding heaven immortals heaved a sigh of relief and rushed out again. Not long after the front door of the Great Taoist Hall opened, the originally noisy crowd in front of the Great Taoist Hall instantly quietened down. In just a few seconds there were only a few martial artists left in the entire area. The human demon, the eight-legged demon, the five-fingered immortal, the Red Ling immortal and Zhao Rui. Zhao Rui did not follow Jinhua into the Great Path Palace. She chose to stay where she was. The reason Zhao Rui chose to stay was that she seemed to have sensed a terrifying aura from Ningyu. Zhao Rui was different from Jinhua. In the Central God Dynasty, her combat ability was not much higher than Jinhua's. Jean Hua was in the top 50 while she was in the top 30. But her status was much higher than Jean Hua's. There was no other reason. She had an extremely sharp perception towards some powerful things. Why did you stay? Ningyu put away the essence creating divine staff and the red demon sword, walked up to Zhao Rui and asked, "The Great Path Palace has a huge number of heaven immortal laws. If I go in late, I might not be able to obtain them." "I'm not interested in heaven immortal laws." Zhao Rui shook her head and said, "According to my memory, there should be a path in the depths of the Great Path Palace, and that path leads straight to a high-level plane." Upon hearing this, Ningyu could not help but take a few more glances at her. Although Ningyu and Zhao Rui had been in contact for a long time, what Zhao Rui said made Ningyu look at her in a different light once again. He had only learned about the path of passage after threatening Red Ling Immortal. From what Zhao Rui said, she seemed to be very familiar with the path of passage. "You should be from some superforce, right?" Ningyu stopped in his tracks and stared at Zhao Rui. Zhao Rui did not deny it. Instead, she nodded and answered, "I'm from the Central God Dynasty." Central God Dynasty? Ningyu frowned slightly. For some reason, he felt that he had heard of the Central God Dynasty somewhere before. "I'm from the Central God Dynasty." Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to think of something, and a look of surprise came over his face. When Suing left with the little Kylan, Human Devil had suspected her identity. Human Devil had said that Suing was most likely from the Central God Dynasty, because only the peerless geniuses of the Central God Dynasty could easily erase the five-fingered immortal's mark in the five-fingered divine elixir. How could Ningyu not be surprised when Zhao Rui said that she was also from the Central God Dynasty? "You know about the Central God Dynasty?" Zhao Rui frowned slightly, but on second thought, she felt that it was only natural that Ningyu knew about the Central God Dynasty. After all, Ningyu had several experts from high-level material planes around him, such as Human Devil, Red Ling Immortal, and the Five-Fingered Immortal. "Don't worry about whether I know about the Central God Dynasty or not. Let me ask you, do you know that there is a little golden-haired girl named Suing in the Central God Dynasty?" Ningyu asked hurriedly. Ever since Suing left, Ningyu had not seen her again. Ningyu had not forgotten what He Kuan, the expert who owned the Tower of Yuzuan, had told him to ensure Su Ying's safety. Now that he had a chance to learn about Suing, he naturally had to ask about her seriously. "A little golden-haired girl? Suing?" Chapter 2041. You didn't. Ningyu frowned. He had already guessed Zhao Rui's answer. After all, Suing had been staying in the Tower of Yuzuan all this time and was very young. Even if she came from the Central God Dynasty, Zhao Rui shouldn't know her identity. Although Ningyu knew Zhao Rui would answer like that, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when he heard what she said. "Let's go. It's time to go in." Taking a deep breath, Ningyu looked at the broken main door of the Great Dao Hall in front of him, then leaped up and rushed into the hall. The eight-legged monster and the human demon followed closely behind Ningyu without hesitation. "He's so calm." Zhao Rui couldn't help but frown as she watched Ningyu's disappearing figure. To be honest, Zhao Rui had a deep fear of Ningyu. She knew better than anyone how fast Ningyu's strength had improved. She remembered very clearly that before entering the Myriad Demon's Ridge, Ningyu's strength hadn't even reached the early-stage Sky Immortal level, and it had been very difficult for him to deal with the divine son of Tianlong and the others. But how long had it been? Ningyu had improved his strength to such an extent that not only did he make the five-fingered immortal submit to him, but he also made a late-stage Sky Immortal like Immortal Hongling bow before him. I have to remind Jean Hua not to get into a conflict with Ningyu. Zhao Rui didn't stay outside the Great Dao Hall for long. Her figure flashed and she rushed straight in. The reason Zhao Rui had such a thought was not because she was partial to Jean Hua, but because she was partial to Ningyu. At least, that was what she thought in her heart. After all, Jin Hua was a peerless genius of the Central God dynasty. If Ning Yu accidentally killed him, he would definitely be hunted down by the Central God dynasty. Zhao Rui admitted that Ning Yu was very strong, but no matter how strong a warrior was, he was still insignificant in the face of a behemoth like the Central God dynasty. Unless Ning Yu advanced to the profound immortal realm, the Central Divine dynasty would not take him seriously. Of course, just taking it seriously wouldn't change the Central Divine dynasty's attitude. Therefore, Zhao Rui secretly made up her mind that no matter what, she could not let Jin Hua and Ning Yu fight to the death. Walala! At this moment, in the deepest part of the Great Path Palace, many warriors stopped. The reason why these martialists had stopped was because there was a golden barrier in front of them. The eyes of these cultivators were fixed on the golden barrier as they involuntarily sucked in a mouthful of cold air. To be precise, these warriors' gazes were not on the golden barrier, but on the golden futon on the other side of the golden barrier. On the other side of the golden barrier, there were dozens of golden futons. On every single golden meditation cushion was a heavenly immortal law. There was even a huge dark golden cushion behind the dozens of golden cushions. On the dark golden praying mat, there were a total of 3 transparent crystal balls. Pseudo-profound immortal laws. It was not an exaggeration to say that each of these 3 transparent crystal balls contained a pseudo-profound immortal law. Of course, only experts whose cultivation had reached the late-stage heavenly immortal realm could discover that the crystal balls contained pseudo-profound immortal laws. As for the other weaker heavenly immortals, they only knew that the laws in the crystal balls were very powerful, but they did not know whether the crystal balls contained heavenly immortal laws or pseudo-profound immortal laws. These heavenly immortal laws are all mine. Suddenly, an early-stage heavenly immortal realm martialist rushed out and dashed toward the golden futon at the front. Trash, the heavenly immortal laws are mine, none of you can snatch them. After this mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martialist rushed out, the other mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martialist bellowed and followed closely behind. It was undeniable. At any time there would always be stupid people. These 2 heavenly immortal realm martialists belonged to the most stupid kind of people. Swoosh. Swoosh. Since ancient times, stupid people did not have good endings. These 2 heavenly immortal realm martialists were very fast, but because of their speed, they were hit in the neck by a golden cold light as soon as they arrived in front of the golden barrier. Almost at the same time, the heads of the mid-stage and early-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists were separated from their bodies. Whoosh! The sudden change caused an uproar among the surrounding martialists. Although they had expected that the golden barrier was not simple, their faces turned ugly when they saw the 2 cold lights that shot out from the golden barrier and easily killed 2 heavenly immortal realm martialists. One should know that the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martialist who rushed out just now was extremely powerful and had once killed a late-stage heavenly immortal realm martialist. Now that he was killed by the golden cold light, one could imagine what these early-stage and mid-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists would do. First of all, since they were already here, they naturally would not give up halfway. Swoosh! 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 These martialists made a decision almost in an instant. Their figures flashed and stopped behind the late-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists in 2s and 3s. Obviously, they had chosen to rely on the late-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists and use their help to pass through the golden barrier. One had to admit that although this method was very dangerous and the martialists might burn their bridges after crossing the river, it was still a good idea at this time. Let's go. Immortal Withered Crane glanced at Immortal Bright Dove and Immortal Baldy beside him. Then, he leaped up, clenched his fists, and punched at the golden barrier. Whoosh! Just like before, a golden cold light shot out from the barrier and blasted at Immortal Withered Crane. Crack! However, immortal withered crane was not like the two martialists just now. His cultivation had reached the late stage heavenly immortal realm, and he was extremely powerful. A crisp sound rang out, and the golden cold light that shot out from the barrier was blasted away. Immortal withered crane tore the barrier with both hands and entered calmly. Hurry, hurry, hurry! The barrier will close up if we wait any longer. Follow immortal withered crane and you'll have meat to eat. Those martialists who chose to stand behind immortal withered crane were very excited at this time and scrambled to enter the gap. As for the rest of the martialists, their faces were full of envy. At the same time, they could not help but look at the late-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists in front of them. After all of them were relying on late-stage heavenly immortal realm martialists. Since immortal withered crane could break the barrier, then the martialists they were relying on could naturally do so as well. Me too. Immortal Brightdove raised his eyebrows and rushed out after immortal withered crane. Me too. Immortal Baldy rushed out and brought along a group of experts behind him. Ha ha ha, how can I, immortal Xiong Tua, miss out on such a good thing? Humph. Xiong Tua, why don't we have a competition and see who can snatch more heavenly immortal laws? Swish, swish, swish. With immortal withered crane taking the lead, the remaining late-stage heavenly immortal experts naturally would not stay and wait for their deaths. Chapter 2042. Humph! A bunch of trash. When the crowd rushed out, a young cultivator did not go with the flow. Instead, he snorted coldly. This young warrior was none other than Jin Hua from the Central Divine Dynasty. Jin Hua's cultivation wasn't too weak, but it wasn't particularly high either. Late-stage heaven immortal. Jin Hua's cultivation was the same as immortal withered crane and the others, late-stage heavenly immortal. However, Jin Hua's late-stage sky immortal cultivation was very different from immortal withered crane. In other words, two immortal withered cranes would not be a match for Jin Hua. Not long ago, the reason why Jin Hua was at a disadvantage in the battle with the Red Devil was because he underestimated his opponent and did not use his full strength. Once he used his full strength, Red Devil would definitely not be his match. Boy from the Central Divine Dynasty, are you interested in cooperating with me? All of a sudden, Jin Hua heard a mocking voice. Humph! Come out and meet me! Jin Hua seemed to have known that someone was hiding in the void. He snorted coldly, then clenched his right fist and punched out. Gotcha! Jin Hua's punch caused space to explode as a terrifying vortex was formed. Are the people of the Central Divine Dynasty all irascible? After the void split open, an old woman holding a walking stick slowly appeared in Jin Hua's line of sight. How do you want to cooperate with me? Jin Hua restrained the restlessness in his heart slightly when he saw the old woman, and he said in a low voice, At least two of those three pseudo-mysterious immortal laws on the other side are mine. Even though Jin Hua was very arrogant, he had to admit that with his current strength, even if he used his full strength, he might not be able to do anything to the old woman. Rather than becoming enemies with the old woman, it was better to work together for the time being and fight for the heavenly immortal laws and pseudo-profound immortal laws on the other side of the barrier. Haha, I'm not interested in those pseudo-profound immortal laws. The old woman smiled and said, What I'm interested in is the through path. Whoosh! Hearing the old woman's words, Jin Hua's expression instantly turned grave. Martial artists who were qualified to know about the Heavenspan Road were not easy to deal with. At the very least, Immortal Withered Crane and Immortal Brightdove did not know of the Skypath. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so excited just now. That was because anyone who knew about the path to the heavens knew that they were abandoned, a group of people who had been abandoned. Of course, this didn't include Jin Hua. Even though he knew about the path of heaven, Jin Hua was not afraid because he came from the Central Divine Dynasty and had something to protect himself. Looks like I guessed correctly. Seeing Jean Hua's expression, the corners of the old woman's mouth involuntarily curled up. The reason why she cooperated with Jean Hua was not because of Jean Hua's strength, but because of his trump card. Her idea was very simple. First, cooperate with Jean Hua, and then wait for an opportunity to snatch Jean Hua's trump card. When they reached the end of the path to heaven, she would use Jean Hua's trump card to escape. "Tell me what you think," Jean Hua said calmly. "Let's join hands and kill all these martial artists. Then, we'll head for the skyspan path." The old woman reached out her hand and lightly drew a line across her neck, then said, "Although celestial immortal laws are few, they can still temporarily increase our strength." Jean Hua puckered his lips when he heard the old woman, and he said, "In the end, it's all because of those heavenly immortal laws and pseudo-mysterious immortal laws." Hearing this, the old lady's expression became slightly awkward. Jean Hua did not care whether the old lady was embarrassed or not. He waved his hand and said in an unquestionable tone, "I want 2 mysterious immortal laws, and I want 60% of the heavenly immortal laws. Deal." The old lady did not hesitate and immediately agreed to Jean Hua's request. After all, her goal was not to snatch the laws, but to find a way to obtain more of Jean Hua's trump cards. A little more laws or a little less was not a loss to her at all. There must be something fishy about this abnormality. Although Jean Hua appeared very impulsive when facing Ningyu, he was, after all, a peerless genius ranked in the top 50 of the Central Divine Dynasty. If he was always so impulsive, he would have been killed long ago. In just an instant, he determined that the old lady's motive was not pure. However, even though he determined that the old lady's motive was not pure, he did not act rashly. For one thing, he did not have absolute confidence in dealing with the old lady. For another, Ningyu, Zhao Rui, and the others had already arrived in this area. To Jean Hua's surprise, Ningyu and the others did not rush to the side of the golden barrier, but chose to stop and watch. "As the first thing we should do after joining hands, I think we should kill Ningyu." Seeing Jean Hua's expression, the old lady said, "Ningyu is very strong, and he has an aura that makes my heart palpitate." "An aura that makes your heart palpitate?" Jean Hua was slightly stunned, feeling a little incredulous. After all, he did not sense any terrifying aura from Ningyu. In fact, he did not even sense any danger from Ningyu. "That aura is very weak and faintly discernible. I hope I am mistaken." The old lady was not particularly sure. She shook her head and said. Jean Hua looked a little conflicted. To be honest, he very much wanted to join hands with the old lady to deal with Ningyu. Even if they could not kill Ningyu, they wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson. But when he saw the cold look in Zhao Rui's eyes, he suppressed the idea of making a move. As a peerless genius ranked in the top 50 of the Central Divine Dynasty, he knew very well how terrifying Zhao Rui, who was ranked in the top 30, was. Although Zhao Rui was special and not much stronger than him at her peak, and Zhao Rui could only exert half of her strength now, she was not necessarily stronger than him. But he did not dare to act rashly, because Zhao Rui's status in the Central Divine Dynasty was much higher than his. In the Central Divine Dynasty, most people thought that Zhao Rui was just a peerless genius ranked in the top 30, but there were still a very small number of people who knew her true identity. The reincarnation of a peerless genius. Decades ago, it was rumored that the third-ranked genius of the Central Divine Dynasty suffered from chi deviation during cultivation and eventually died. According to the investigation afterward, there were many doubtful points about this matter. Jean Hua, on the other hand, had learned from various channels that Zhao Rui had not died from chi deviation, but had cultivated an extremely terrifying reincarnation technique. All signs pointed to Zhao Rui, who was ranked in the top 30 of the Central Divine Dynasty, as the third-ranked genius. Therefore, Jean Hua took the initiative to ask to descend to the Immortal Spirit region to help Zhao Rui. I can't let Zhao Rui suspect me for the time being. Jin Hua took a deep look at Ning Yu and Zhao Rui, then turned to the old lady and said, "When those people inside are done fighting, we will strike immediately." Jin Hua chose not to be an enemy of Ning Yu, so the old lady was naturally happy to be at ease. After all, she did not want to clash with Ning Yu too early. Just now, she said that she wanted to join forces to kill Ning Yu because she wanted to gain some of Jin Hua's trust so that he would let his guard down a little. Chapter 2043. On the other side, after Ning Yu and Zhao Rui appeared, they stood still without saying a word. However, their gazes were fixed on the people fighting for the heaven immortal laws on the other side of the barrier. Hell on earth. It would not be an exaggeration to describe the situation on the other side of the golden barrier as hell on earth. In order to snatch the heaven immortal laws, the people who had just joined forces were now on the battlefield. Is the old woman next to Jin Hua the one who ambushed you just now? Although Zhao Rui's gaze was also fixed on the other side of the barrier, her words brought up the old woman. With Zhao Rui's keen senses, she naturally noticed that someone had ambushed Ning Yu not long ago. If the main door of the hall hadn't suddenly cracked open, the old woman would probably have charged out and attacked Ning Yu. Ning Yu did not deny it. He nodded and said, "Just a small fry, nothing to worry about." Nothing to worry about? Hearing Ning Yu's words, even though Zhao Rui was mentally prepared, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. Although the old woman had concealed her aura, it was only a casual concealment. It was only enough to satisfy an ordinary early-stage or mid-stage heaven immortal martial artist. She couldn't hide her aura from these people. Peak late-stage heaven immortal. The old woman's cultivation was peak late-stage heaven immortal, only a step away from the true peak heaven immortal. Zhao Rui knew very well that Ning Yu wasn't even a heaven immortal yet. You're a martial artist who isn't even a heaven immortal. Even if you have some trump cards, where did you get the guts to say that a peak late-stage heaven immortal is nothing to worry about? At this time, even though Zhao Rui knew Ning Yu's character, she couldn't help but feel a little angry. Arrogant. Arrogant. These two labels were instantly placed on Ning Yu by Zhao Rui. If Ning Yu knew that Zhao Rui thought of him like this, he would probably spit out a mouthful of blood. He had abstruse immortal laws. Even if the old woman's cultivation was peak late-stage heaven immortal, he was still fearless. Unless the old woman's cultivation advanced to peak heaven immortal, he would be able to win with his abstruse immortal laws. I hope you can still be as calm as you are now when facing that old woman, Zhao Rui said coldly. Then, she moved away from Ning Yu, distancing herself from Ning Yu. Ning Yu's face darkened. A woman's heart was truly unfathomable. He did not provoke Zhao Rui, but Zhao Rui actually showed a resentful attitude towards him. If it wasn't for the sake of concealing the fact that he possessed mysterious immortal laws, Ning Yu would probably tell Zhao Rui directly that he really wasn't afraid of the old woman. Shifting his gaze, Ning Yu didn't care about Zhao Rui's attitude. Instead, he stared at the old woman with a thoughtful expression. To be honest, when the old woman had ambushed Ning Yu had indeed regarded the old woman as his greatest enemy. There was no other reason. Ning Yu did not know the exact cultivation level of the old woman, so he thought that she was a peak heaven immortal. Now that he knew the exact cultivation level of the old woman, he naturally wouldn't be as afraid as before. Whoosh! As Ning Yu was looking at the old woman's gaze shifted over at the same time. The two collided, causing sparks to shoot out. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost instantly, two cold glints shot out from Ning Yu's and the old woman's eyes. Rumble! The cold glints collided and instantly dissipated between heaven and earth. Her strength is actually so strong. Although it was only a short exchange, and the old woman did not use her full strength, Ning Yu was still able to roughly determine the old woman's strength through the exchange. She was infinitely close to the peak heaven immortal. The old woman was very strong. She was only a step away from breaking through to the peak heaven immortal. At this point, Ningyu gradually withdrew the contempt in his heart and began to take her seriously. Compared to Ningyu's shock, the old woman was even more shocked. She didn't attack just now to kill Ningyu, but to probe Ningyu. After probing, she finally determined what the aura on Ningyu that made her heart palpitate was. Profound immortal law. When the old woman found out that Ningyu had a profound immortal law, she wished for nothing more than to make a move immediately and snatch the profound immortal law. But the remaining trace of reason stopped her from acting rashly. Not to mention whether she could snatch the profound immortal law, even Jin Hua, who was next to her, was very troublesome for her. Under such circumstances, she chose to conceal this information. In any case, looking at Jin Hua's expression, he did not know that Ningyu had a profound immortal law. Rather than letting Jin Hua know, it was better for her to choose to conceal it for now and then slowly plan. The hurried exchange between Ningyu and the old woman ended with both sides being afraid of each other. But at this moment, the exchange on the other side of the golden barrier had already reached a white-hot stage. As the battle went on, in the end, only 5 heaven immortals survived. Immortal Ku He from the sacred divine palace, Immortal Mingjiu from the ancient devil sect, Immortal Baldi from the fallen spirits sect, Immortal Xiong Tua from the abandoned eagle dominion, and Immortal Wenqi from the tiger dominion. The cultivation of these 5 surviving martial artists was surprisingly consistent. All of them were late-stage heaven immortals. However, at this moment, Immortal Ku He, Immortal Mingjiu, and Immortal Baldi had joined forces and held 70% of the heaven immortal law and 2 pseudo-profound immortal laws. As for Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wenqi, they only had 30% of the heaven immortal law and 1 pseudo-profound immortal law. Both sides were not too satisfied with this distribution. But because the other party was stronger, they did not start a conflict for the time being. It's time to go out. The old woman withdrew her gaze from Ningyu, then leaped up and dashed out. Jin Hua did not hesitate and followed closely behind the old woman. Since he had joined forces with the old woman, he naturally had to advance and retreat together with her at this time. But before they set off, Jin Hua used the Central Divine Dynasty's unique voice transmission method to tell Zhao Rui that he and the old woman were only pretending and not really joining forces. Zhao Rui chose to ignore Jin Hua's message with a smile. After all, she knew Jin Hua's character. She did not care whether Jin Hua was pretending or not. As long as Jin Hua did not start a conflict with Ningyu, she would be very satisfied. Demonic Snake Immortal. Seeing the old woman come over, Immortal Ku He and Immortal Mingjiu hurriedly said respectfully, "We have snatched these heaven immortal laws and profound immortal laws for you." As they spoke, Immortal Ku He, Immortal Mingjiu, and the others handed all the laws that they had painstakingly obtained to the old woman, who was also known as Demonic Snake Immortal. The sudden change caused Jin Hua to be a little stunned. He did not expect that Immortal Ku He and the others were the old woman's pawns and would obediently hand over the laws they had painstakingly obtained to the old woman. It should be noted that in order to obtain these laws, Immortal Ku He and the others had all been injured. "I'm very sorry." Chapter 2044. Jin Hua's expression turned extremely unsightly when he heard Immortal Fiend Snake's mocking words. He had indeed told Immortal Fiend Snake that he wanted 60% of the heavenly immortal laws and 2 pseudo-arcane immortal laws. However, that was under the premise that the 2 of them had joined forces. Right now, Immortal Fiend Snake had managed to snatch 70% of the heavenly immortal laws and 20% of the pseudo-arcane immortal laws. If he continued to be stubborn, he would not be able to adapt to the situation. Interesting. Immortal Fiend Snake's lips curled up into a smile when she saw Jin Hua's gloomy expression. Immortal Fiend Snake's plan was very simple. She wanted Jin Hua to deal with Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wen Qi. As for her, she wanted to judge Jin Hua's true strength through his attacks. Humph! I'll naturally snatch what I want myself. Jin Hua snorted coldly before he leaped up and charged towards Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wen Qi. We're willing to offer up our heavenly immortal laws and profound immortal laws. Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wen Qi said hurriedly when they saw Jin Hua charging towards them. The two of them were no fools. They could sense an extremely terrifying aura from Immortal Fiend Snake. In other words, Immortal Fiend Snake was much stronger than them. Even someone as strong as Immortal Fiend Snake was rather respectful towards Jin Hua and even wanted to hand over the laws that he had painstakingly obtained to Jin Hua. This was enough to show that Jin Hua was definitely not weak. Immortal Ku He and the others had sided with Immortal Fiend Snake, so they might as well side with Jin Hua. Jin Hua was slightly dumbfounded by Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wen Qi's actions. However, Jin Hua came to a realization after he thought about it. Everyone wanted to live. Immortal Xiong Tua and Immortal Wen Qi would definitely not blindly make an enemy out of him. Very well. Jin Hua nodded lightly and took a pseudo-arcane immortal law and 30% of the heavenly immortal laws from Xiong Tua and Wen Qi. Xiong Tua and Wen Qi also stood behind Jin Hua and glared at Immortal Ku He and Mingjiu. Devour! After obtaining 30% of the heavenly immortal laws, Jin Hua didn't hesitate at all. He immediately tossed them into his mouth and started devouring. Although Jin Hua's cultivation level was at the late heavenly immortal stage, as long as he didn't advance to the Xian immortal stage, no one would complain about having too few heavenly immortal laws. After all, every additional heavenly immortal law he possessed would increase his strength slightly. As for devouring the false profound immortal laws now, Jin Hua didn't have the guts for now. Because even if it was a pseudo-profound immortal law, it was still a profound immortal law. With Jin Hua's current cultivation at the advanced stage of the heavenly immortal realm, the success rate of devouring a pseudo-profound immortal law was less than 20%. For the sake of ensuring that nothing went wrong, Jin Hua naturally had to improve his cultivation first. At the very least, he had to wait until his cultivation had risen to the peak of the heavenly immortal realm before he could devour the laws of the false profound immortal realm. Buzz. Jin Hua's success rate in devouring pseudo-profound immortal laws was less than 20%, but his success rate in devouring heavenly immortal laws was 100%. About 30% of the celestial immortal laws, there were about a dozen or so. Jin Hua only used 3 minutes to completely devour over a dozen heavenly immortal laws. After devouring over a dozen heavenly immortal laws, Jin Hua's strength increased once more. Although Jin Hua's cultivation was still at the late stage of the heavenly immortal realm, his strength had increased by at least 10 to 20%. Buzz. On the other side, the Fiend Snake Immortal wasn't idle either. She opened her mouth and tossed about 70% of the heavenly immortal laws into her mouth. Over 40 heavenly immortal laws were a huge help to the Fiend Snake Immortal. Fortunately, the Fiend Snake Immortal's cultivation was slightly higher than Jin Hua's, at the peak of the late stage of the heavenly immortal realm. Otherwise, devouring over 40 heavenly immortal laws at once would definitely waste a lot of time. Fortunately, the Fiend Snake Immortal only used 5 minutes to devour over 40 heavenly immortal laws. After devouring and refining over 40 heavenly immortal laws, the Fiend Snake Immortal's combat strength had a qualitative increase. If the Fiend Snake Immortal was only half a step away from the peak of the heavenly immortal realm before, then now, other than her aura that had yet to reach the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, she could already be considered as a true peak of the heavenly immortal realm in every aspect. Nurturing a tiger is inviting calamity. For some reason, when he sensed the increase in the Fiend Snake Immortal's aura, These 4 words suddenly appeared in the depths of Jin Hua's heart. At this moment, Jin Hua was faintly regretting. Before devouring the heavenly immortal laws, he was confident that if he used his trump card, he could go against the fiend snake immortal, and even kill her. But at this moment, he didn't have full confidence. In other words, even if he used his trump card, he might not be able to go against the fiend snake immortal. When he thought up to here, Jin Hua's gaze couldn't help but shift towards Ning Yu and the others who were at the other side. From the beginning to the end, Ning Yu and Zhao Rui's group didn't get involved. Could it be that they don't want the heavenly immortal laws and pseudo-profound immortal laws? Jin Hua was puzzled. As far as Jin Hua was concerned, anyone whose cultivation hadn't advanced to the profound immortal realm would covet the heavenly immortal laws and pseudo-profound immortal laws. However, the calm actions of Ning Yu and the others made him slightly nervous in his heart. You don't want the pseudo-profound immortal laws? While Jin Hua was puzzled, Zhao Ru looked at Ning Yu and said doubtfully, "To you, if you obtained a few pseudo-profound immortal laws, your strength would at least increase by a few times." Testing me? How could Ning Yu not know that Zhao Rui was testing him? If he wasn't wrong, Zhao Rui probably suspected him and suspected that he possessed the true profound immortal laws. However, Ning Yu didn't intend to admit it. He shrugged and said, "I haven't even overcome the heavenly immortal tribulation, how could I dare to covet the pseudo-profound immortal laws?" After that, Ning Yu glanced deeply at Zhao Rui and continued. "On the other hand, your cultivation is at the advanced stage of the heavenly immortal realm, so you should have the ability to seize the pseudo-profound immortal laws. But I see that you're calm and composed. Could it be that you've already made up your mind? Or perhaps you possess the true profound immortal laws?" Thump! Zhao Rui's heart jerked when she heard this. She was indeed testing Ning Yu earlier, but she didn't expect that Ning Yu would actually test her instead. "Why don't we join forces? We'll be able to go further on the path to heaven." Zhao Rui smiled and changed the topic. "This isn't the only path to heaven." "Oh? Let's hear it," Ning Yu asked. From immortal Hongling, Ning Yu knew that there was a path to heaven. Now that he heard what Zhao Rui said, it seemed like there were many paths to heaven. "There are indeed many paths to heaven." Zhao Rui nodded and explained. "There's a path to heaven in the immortal spirit realm, and there's a path to heaven in the devil spirit realm. Simply put, there's a path to heaven in every lower level plane. At first, these paths to heaven don't intersect, but in the end they will converge and form a huge path to heaven." Chapter 2045. Rumble. Not long after Zhao Rui's voice faded, a rumbling sound soared into the sky. "Not good!" The instant the rumbling sound rang out, Jin Hua and Immortal Snake, who were on the other side of the barrier, paled and hastily retreated. Swish, swish, swish. Immortal Withered Crane and Immortal Bride Dove were no fools. Since Jin Hua and Immortal Fiend Snake had retreated, they naturally had no reason to stay. "The path to heaven is about to appear," Zhao Rui murmured as she stared at the golden futon. Boom! Zhao Rui was right. In the blink of an eye, the golden praying mat split open from the middle, and a huge pillar of light suddenly rushed out. Is the path to heaven going to appear? Zhao Rui was not the only one who wore a grave expression when she saw the changes to the golden futon. Even Jin Hua and the demonic snake immortal had grave expressions on their faces as they stared at the pillar of light shooting out from under the golden futon. Without a doubt, the entrance to the path of ingress was this enormous pillar of light. However, Zhao Rui and the others did not act rashly. Since they knew about the through path, they definitely knew that before entering the through path, they would have to undergo a test. According to the records, every lower plane's test was different. Drip. Time passed by quickly. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. In this half an hour, there were no changes to the huge pillar of light. Are there no more tests? Immortal Snake frowned. If there was no test, it would be a waste of time for them to continue waiting here. But if he were to rush in recklessly and there was a test, wouldn't he have to bear the consequences? You go over. Fiend Snake Immortal rolled his eyes, grabbed Withered Crane Immortal's shoulder, and threw him toward the huge pillar of light. Devil Snake Immortal's cultivation base was at the peak of the late-stage Heaven Immortal stage, and he was only a thin layer away from the peak of the Heaven Immortal stage. Although Immortal Withered Crane was also a late-stage Heavenly Immortal, the difference between him and Immortal Fiend Snake was not just a little bit. Even if Immortal Withered Crane didn't want to go, he could only brace himself and accept Immortal Snake's instructions. Whoosh! Immortal Withered Crane's body flashed, and he soon arrived before the enormous pillar of light. After staring at the pillar of light for a few minutes, Immortal Withered Crane gritted his teeth and directly entered the pillar of light. Shio! However, before Immortal Withered Crane could enter the enormous pillar of light, a cold golden light shot out from within the pillar of light. This streak of golden light was very fast, so fast that before Immortal Withered Crane could react, it had already arrived in front of him. Damn it! Immortal Withered Crane's face instantly darkened when he saw the cold golden light rushing toward him. With no time to think, Immortal Withered Crane used all his strength to flee to Immortal Devil Snake. However, the speed at which Immortal Withered Crane fled was clearly inferior to the speed of the cold golden light. In the blink of an eye, the golden light streaked across Immortal Withered Crane's neck. The Withered Crane Immortal stood where he was and extended his right hand, pointing at the Devil Snake Immortal. He wanted to say something, but before he could finish his sentence, his body fell backward. Bang! Before Immortal Withered Crane's body hit the ground, his head separated from his body and fell to the ground first. This sudden development caused Immortal Brightdove and the others to suck in a breath of cold air. How could they not be shocked? Immortal Withered Crane's strength was on par with theirs, at the late-stage Sky Immortal level. Now, Immortal Withered Crane had been easily killed by the cold golden light, and even his head had been separated from his body. One could easily imagine that the others would not have a good ending either. So this is the test? Immortal Devil Snake stared fixedly at the enormous pillar of light, then waved his hands repeatedly. His left hand grabbed Immortal Brightdove's shoulder, his right hand grabbed Immortal Baldy's shoulder, and he tossed them toward the enormous pillar of light. Swish! Swish! How could Immortal Brightdove and Immortal Baldy be fools? They'd clearly seen how Immortal Withered Crane died miserably earlier. Knowing that they would definitely die, Immortal Devil Snake still wanted them to be cannon fodder? They would definitely not be willing. After all, according to Immortal Devil Snake's thinking, they would definitely die if they went over. If they fought against Immortal Devil Snake, they would still have a chance of survival. At this moment, even an idiot would know that they should fight against Immortal Devil Snake. Thus, the two of them suddenly turned around in midair and charged toward Immortal Devil Snake. One-line punch! Immortal Brightdove bellowed. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched viciously toward Immortal Devil Snake's head. Vulture palm. Immortal Baldy spread open his right hand, gathered all the yuan in his body in his palm, and sent a backhand slap toward Immortal Devil Snake. Interesting. Immortal Brightdove and Immortal Baldy's sudden change of heart caused Ning Yu's lips to curl up. Ning Yu knew that Immortal Devil Snake was very powerful. However, he did not know exactly how powerful Immortal Devil Snake was. Immortal Brightdove and Immortal Baldy's frenzied attacks naturally helped him understand Immortal Devil Snake's strength. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Immortal Devil Snake appeared very calm in the face of Immortal Brightdove and Immortal Baldy. He snorted coldly and his body shot forward. Bang! Bang! In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Immortal Devil Snake sent out 2 kicks. Although the Devil Snake Immortal's 2 kicks appeared to be very ordinary, they were actually extremely powerful. 2 kicks. Just 2 kicks, and immortal Brightdove and immortal Baldy were sent flying. The direction they were sent flying was the direction of the enormous pillar of light. Swish, swish. Just like before, immortal Brightdove and immortal Baldy had just approached the enormous pillar of light when 2 cold golden beams of light shot out. These 2 cold golden beams of light were very fast, and in almost an instant, they streaked past the necks of immortal Brightdove and immortal Baldy. Bang! Wherever the cold light passed, 2 heads fell to the ground. At this moment, immortal Brightdove and immortal Baldy died miserably on the spot. Jean Hua, immortal Devil Snake, did not care about the deaths of immortal Brightdove and immortal Baldy at all. On the contrary, her gaze shifted towards Jean Hua. Intentionally or unintentionally, her gaze swept past Xiong Tua and Wen Qi. Immortal Devil Snake's intentions were self-evident. She wanted Jean Hua to send Xiong Tua and Wen Qi to the side of the Pillar of Light. I think we can use another method. Jean Hua had an idea, and he said, in any case, whenever something approaches the Pillar of Light, it will shoot out a cold golden beam of light. Why don't we throw out a few immortal crystals and try? As he spoke, Jean Hua flicked his wrist, tossing out a few immortal crystals. Jean Hua was not stupid. Since the 3 late-stage heavenly immortal experts who had submitted to immortal Devil Snake had been killed, he naturally would not let Xiong Tua and Wen Qi die in vain. After all, the heaven-span path was incomparably dangerous. An additional follower would increase his chances of survival. Although he was very confident in his own strength, no matter how confident he was, it was always better to have an additional layer of insurance. However, in order to deepen his control over Xiong Tua and Wen Qi, Jean Hua threw the immortal crystals towards the Pillar of Light while sending a voice transmission to Xiong Tua and Wen Qi. If you want to live, then open your mind and let me control you. Jean Hua's possessiveness was very strong. In his opinion, since Xiong Tua and Wen Qi had submitted to him, then they should open their minds and let him control them. Chapter 2046. Okay. Xiong Tua and Wen Qi knew their limits. Even immortal Withered Crane and the others had died to the golden light. If the 2 of them went over, they would definitely die a horrible death. Jean Hua was willing to protect them now. Even if they had to pay the price of being controlled, they would absolutely not refuse. Because if they refused, only death would await them. Buzz. After receiving confirmation from Xiong Tua and Wen Qi, 2 wisps of soul force flew out of Jean Hua's body and instantly entered Xiong Tuo's and Wen Qi's minds. Crack! While Jean Hua was controlling Xiong Tua and Wen Qi, the few immortal crystals he had thrown out all shattered. The shattering of the immortal crystals meant that Jean Hua's judgment was correct. It meant that immortal Withered Crane and the others had died in vain. Seeing the immortal crystals shatter, immortal Fiend Snake's face was as gloomy as ice, and she trembled with anger. Although immortal Withered Crane and immortal Bright Dove were not as strong as her, they were still late-stage sky immortals. On the through path, she could save a lot of trouble with the help of 3 late-stage sky immortals. Now, immortal Withered Crane and the others were all killed, causing her to lose 3 capable helpers. You guys, come over here. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She suddenly turned around and looked coldly at Ning Yu and the others, saying in a deep voice, "We've been working so hard to crack the light pillars here, but you guys are actually doing nothing." Immortal Fiend Snake's meaning was very simple. She wanted to drag Ning Yu and the others down, and even wanted Ning Yu to go to the light pillars. This idea could not be said not to be vicious. After all, no one knew how many golden lights there were in total. Letting Ning Yu go at this time would most likely lead to death. Wouldn't I lose face if I go just because you want me to? Ning Yu shrugged casually. Think of a way yourself if you have the ability. If you don't make a fuss. You. Immortal Fiend Snake was so angry that her nose was crooked. She didn't expect Ning Yu to dare speak to her like this. One should know that her current cultivation level was the highest in this area. How could Ningyu, a martial artist who was not even a fairy immortal, dare to talk to her like this? I think you won't cry until you see the coffin. Immortal Snake looked at Ningyu coldly. Then, he leaped up and rushed out. Immortal Fiend Snake was truly at the end of his tether and decided to teach Ningyu a lesson. Otherwise, wouldn't Ningyu go against the heavens? Whoosh! Before Devil Snake Immortal could reach Ningyu, Zhao Rui's figure flashed and blocked Devil Snake Immortal's path. I have a way to enter the through path. Zhao Rui's face was expressionless as she spoke. Seeing Zhao Rui standing in front of him, Demon Snake Immortal instantly stopped and floated in the air. Although the demonic Snake Immortal was very unwilling, she had to admit that she also sensed a terrifying aura from Zhao Rui's body. The aura from Zhao Rui's body was extremely similar to the one emitted from Ningyu's body. Demon Snake Immortal was not afraid of Ningyu alone. In fact, she was even confident that she could kill Ningyu. However, if Zhao Rui was added into the mix, then Demon Snake Immortal would have to think twice. After all, there was still Jin Hua eyeing them covetously from the side. Demon Snake Immortal knew very well that once she suffered a serious injury, Jin Hua would definitely snatch the two pseudo-arcane immortal laws from her without any qualms. It had to be said. This group of people had gradually formed a strange relationship. They formed a triangle, and no one dared to act rashly. Why didn't you say so earlier? Demon Snake Immortal took a deep breath and said coldly to Zhao Rui. Zhao Rui raised her head and glanced at Demon Snake Immortal. Then, she immediately moved her feet and walked towards the huge light pillar. Damn it! Demon Snake Immortal couldn't help but curse when she saw Zhao Rui ignore her. However, cursing was just cursing. Demon Snake Immortal wouldn't find trouble with Zhao Rui at this time. What if Zhao Rui got angry and didn't tell her how to enter the path to heaven? Because if she couldn't enter the path to heaven, her years of planning would go to waste. Therefore, to Demon Snake Immortal, she had to enter the path to heaven today. Moreover, she had to enter the path to heaven first. There were many paths to heaven. Every low-level plane, like the immortal spirit realm, would have a path to heaven. However, there were very few paths to heaven. There was only one in total. Entering the path to heaven first meant that one would have more opportunities to obtain opportunities than others. Nothing bad will happen, right? Seeing Zhao Rui approaching the huge light pillar step by step, the eight-legged demonic beast couldn't help but mutter to himself. Ningyu glared at the eight-legged demonic beast but didn't say anything. After all, Zhao Rui hadn't really made a move before. It was understandable that the eight-legged demonic beast didn't think highly of her. I didn't expect that even I would make an error of judgment. Relatively speaking, the human demon had a clearer view than the eight-legged demonic beast. No matter what, he was a mid-stage sky immortal expert. He could feel a terrifying aura from Zhao Rui. It was no exaggeration to say that as long as Zhao Rui wanted to, she could kill him at any time. Regarding this point, the human demon's heart was as clear as a mirror. Go! What the eight-legged demonic beast was worried about did not happen. When Zhao Rui was still some distance away from the huge light pillar, she suddenly stopped. At the same time, she took out a crystal ball and threw it into the light pillar. I can't believe it! Seeing the crystal ball that Zhao Rui had tossed out, Immortal Snake cursed, his mouth wide open. The reason why Immortal Devil Snake had such an expression wasn't because he could enter the path to heaven now, but because there was a pseudo-profound immortal law in the crystal ball that Zhao Rui had thrown out. To calmly throw out a pseudo-Xian immortal law, this boldness, no, it should be this stupid action, made Devil Snake Immortal very angry. Don't just stand there. If you want to enter the path to heaven, you'd better throw out two more pseudo-profound immortal laws. Zhao Rui returned to Ningyu's side and said to the demonic snake Immortal, "Throw the pseudo-profound immortal laws in?" Immortal Snake was stunned. She didn't expect this result. However, in order to enter the path to heaven, she didn't waste time. Instead, she gritted her teeth and threw out a pseudo-profound immortal law. And you. After throwing out the pseudo-profound immortal law, Immortal Devil Snake glared at Jean Hua and said, "You have to throw out a pseudo-profound immortal law too." Immortal Devil Snake had lost a pseudo-profound immortal law, so she naturally wouldn't be happy to see Jean Hua. In any case, Jean Hua also had a pseudo-profound immortal law. She would only feel better if Jean Hua threw out one. "Why should it be me?" Jean Hua's expression was very ugly. He said in a low voice, "Zhao Rui and I are both from the Central Divine Dynasty. We're on the same side. Even if I have to take out another pseudo-profound immortal law, it shouldn't be me, it should be Ning Yu." Swish. Jean Hua pointed the spearhead at Ning Yu. "I don't have a pseudo-profound immortal law." Ning Yu shrugged calmly and said, "So your idea can't be realized for now." Chapter 2047. Jean Hua was very smart. Not only did he point the spearhead at Ning Yu, he even dragged the demonic snake immortal down with him. He should have been the one to take out the third pseudo-arcane immortal law, but after what he said, it became a matter between Ning Yu and the demonic snake immortal. Idiot! Ning Yu rolled his eyes, then chose to close his eyes to rest. Ning Yu's meaning was obvious and self-evident. Since Jean Hua wanted to enter the through path, he had to take out the pseudo-arcane immortal law. Otherwise, he could only waste time here. Furthermore, Ning Yu wasn't lying, he really didn't have the pseudo-arcane immortal law. The only law he had was the pseudo-arcane immortal law. He couldn't possibly take out the real pseudo-arcane immortal law just to enter the through path, right? Ning Yu wasn't that stupid. "I'm so pissed." Jean Hua's expression was cold as he clenched his fists, having the urge to attack. However, because Zhao Rui was next to him, he could only reluctantly take out the pseudo-arcane immortal law he had just obtained. Swoosh! With a flick of his wrist, Jean Hua threw the pseudo-arcane immortal law into the huge light pillar. Rumble! As soon as Jean Hua threw the pseudo-arcane immortal law into the light pillar, an earth-shattering rumble came from within. "Let's go!" Hearing the rumbling sound in her ears, Zhao Rui stamped her feet on the ground and dashed out. Swoosh! 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 Behind Zhao Rui, Jean Hua, the demonic snake immortal, Xiong Tua, and Wen Qi instantly rushed into the light pillar. "Let's go too!" Seeing Zhao Rui and the others rush into the light pillar, Ning Yu shouted to the human demon and the others beside him, "After entering the through path, follow me closely. Remember not to get separated." Ning Yu was very clear. Even entering the through path required 3 pseudo-arcane immortal laws, so it was obvious that the through path was very dangerous. The human demon was only a mid-stage heaven immortal, and the 8-legged demonic beast was not even a heaven immortal. If it wasn't for the human demon and the others wanting to see the through path, Ning Yu would have even let them enter the storage ring. Whoosh! The moment he charged into the light pillar, Ning Yu felt a suffocating pressure assaulting him. "You too, hurry up and get into the storage ring," Ning Yu said to the human demon and the 8-legged demon beast in an unquestionable tone as he sensed the pressure surging toward him. Swoosh! The human devil and the 8-legged demonic beast were not ignorant people. This suffocating pressure was equivalent to the attack of a late-stage heaven immortal expert. Even if the two of them used their full strength, they would definitely not be able to withstand it. Therefore, they didn't hesitate at all and directly entered the storage ring. "Be careful, there might be powerful demonic beasts up ahead." Zhao Rui's voice rang out beside Ning Yu's ears as soon as the 2 demonic beasts entered the storage ring. Hearing Zhao Rui's words, Ning Yu was slightly stunned. But soon, Ning Yu felt relieved. As a genius of the Central Divine Dynasty, It was normal for Zhao Rui to know about the situation on the path of heaven. But there was one thing that made Ningyu very puzzled. Not only did Zhao Rui warn him, but she also warned the demonic snake Immortal and Jin Hua. In Ningyu's opinion, Zhao Rui's warning to Jin Hua was understandable. After all, Jin Hua was also a member of the Central Divine Dynasty. But why did Zhao Rui warn the demonic snake Immortal? After all, the demonic snake Immortal had been eyeing them covetously. Reminding the demonic snake Immortal was completely unnecessary and unnecessary. But soon, Ningyu understood why Zhao Rui had warned the demonic snake Immortal. It's just the path of heaven, not the path of heaven. What kind of powerful demonic beasts could there be? The demonic snake Immortal snorted and immediately injected the immortal energy in his body into his ankles. His body sped away, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Ningyu's sight. Damn it! Seeing the demonic snake Immortal disappear, Jin Hua could not help but curse inwardly. He was originally on the same side as the demonic snake Immortal. Now that the demonic snake Immortal had left alone, he was very angry. Even so, he still had to make a choice. Go with the demonic snake Immortal, or go with Zhao Rui and Ningyu. Let's meet again on the path of heaven. He thought for a second. A second later, Jin Hua made his choice. He glanced at Zhao Rui, then leaped up and rushed out at an extremely terrifying speed. Follow me. As soon as Jin Hua's foot left, Zhao Rui took out a flying carpet from her bosom and threw it into the air. Zhao Rui was the first to jump onto the flying carpet and sit cross-legged. Without hesitation, Ningyu jumped onto the flying carpet. As for the Five-Finger Immortal and Hongling Immortal, they also jumped onto the flying carpet after Ningyu. Swish! Although Zhao Rui was sitting cross-legged with her eyes closed, she still controlled the flying carpet and flew forward at high speed. Sizzle! The flying carpet was so fast that the friction between it and the air produced a sizzling sound. Ningyu did not foolishly ask Zhao Rui for the destination of this trip. After all, he knew very well that there was only one goal for this trip, and that was the path of heaven. After all, there were countless paths of heaven like this, and these countless paths of heaven were like countless tributaries that would eventually converge into a huge path of heaven. The final path of heaven was the main battlefield. Look at the path you're leading. While Ningyu and Zhao Rui were flying at full speed in another region, Jin Hua's face was ashen. At this moment, Jin Hua was filled with regret. He regretted not following Zhao Rui and choosing to follow the demonic snake Immortal instead. As it turned out, the demonic snake Immortal was simply running around randomly. Because the demonic snake Immortal was running around randomly, he had accidentally barged into a valley. Jin Hua would not have been so angry if he had only barged into a valley. The mistake was that there was an aura in this valley that made Jin Hua's heart palpitate. Roar! Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar was heard, followed by an afterimage that dashed out of the void. Not good, it's a golden battle wolf. Jin Hua's face darkened to the extreme when he saw the sudden appearance of the demonic beast. The golden battle wolf was the emperor of the wolf clan, equivalent to the purple-gold sky-devouring hound in the sky-devouring hound clan. The golden battle wolf before him was a peak late-stage sky immortal, only half a step away from the peak sky immortal realm. Although Jin Hua and the demonic snake Immortal were not afraid of this golden battle wolf in a one-on-one battle, exhausting their stamina in the path of heaven was extremely disadvantageous for the situation after entering the path of heaven. You two, go and test its strength first. The demonic snake Immortal said to Xiong Tua and Wenqi, his face ashen. Swoosh! Xiong Tua and Wenqi's faces turned extremely ugly when they heard the demonic snake Immortal's words. Although both of them were late heaven immortal experts, they didn't have the confidence to fight a peak late heaven immortal gold combat wolf. In other words, even if the two of them joined forces, the chances of them stopping the golden battle wolf was only a terrifying 10%. Go. If you can't beat it, I'll make a move. Chapter 2048. I hope you can keep your promise. Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi glanced at each other before flashing out in unison, charging towards the gold combat wolf in midair. Sky Splitter Fist. Thunder Wave Art. Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi did not hold back and used their trump cards in the first move. Sky Splitter Fist and Thunder Wave Art were pinnacle sacred rank martial skills. Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi were late-stage heaven immortals. Pinnacle sacred rank martial skills could unleash their peak power in their hands. Roar. However, facing Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi's attack, the gold battle wolf roared at the sky and dashed forward. Crack. Crack. The gold battle wolf was very fast and arrived beside Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi in the blink of an eye. Its four hooves kicked out and landed on Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi's chest. A crisp sound was heard. After that, Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi were sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. Several of their ribs were broken. Swoosh. The gold combat wolf did not intend to hold back after its attack succeeded. Instead, it continued to pursue Zhang Xian. Jin Hua, save me. Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi hurriedly asked Jin Hua for help when they saw the gold battle wolf charging towards them. Given their strength, there was no way they could go against the gold battle wolf. If Jin Hua didn't help them, their fates could already be foreseen. They would definitely die. Therefore, they were very anxious and hoped that Jin Hua could help them. Damn it! Jin Hua could not help but curse when he saw Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi's instant defeat. Although he cursed, Jin Hua did not choose to ignore it. Instead, he dashed out to help Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi resist the attack of the gold battle wolf. Swoosh. However, Jin Hua had just dashed out a few steps when he came to an abrupt halt in the air. Roar. The reason why Jin Hua stopped was none other than the fact that two more terrifying roars rang out. Two golden battle wolf beasts appeared beside Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi after the two loud roars were heard. Whoosh. Whoosh. As soon as the two gold battle wolf appeared, they opened their bloody mouths and swallowed Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi. Gulp. The sudden death of Xiong Tuo and Wen Qi made Jin Hua's face turn extremely cold, and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Looks like we'll have to use our trump cards today. Fiend Snake Immortal's face was livid, and he said in a deep voice, "Concentrate all your strength and kill a gold battle wolf first." Immortal Snake was very intelligent. She didn't want to deal with two of the three golden battle wolves. For now, she and Jin Hua could only work together to kill a golden battle wolf first, then kill one each. This distribution method couldn't be any better. No problem. Jin Hua was not a fool. Given the current situation, this was probably the only method that Immortal Devil Snake had mentioned. Kill. Snake Immortal raised the walking stick in his hand and ruthlessly smashed it towards the first gold battle wolf. Seeing Immortal Demon Snake going all out, Jin Hua did not remain idle. Instead, he pulled out a silvery white flying sword from his bosom. The Condensed Blue Sword. The flying sword Jin Hua took out was called the Condensed Blue Sword, which was a peak stage heavenly treasure. Jin Hua hadn't revealed his condensed jade sword during his initial exchange with Ningyu. This was so that he could gain the upper hand in the subsequent exchange. However, the current situation forced him to use the condensed jade sword. Boom! Jin Hua and Immortal Demon Snake were both peak stage heaven immortals. How powerful would they be if they worked together? Even though the first gold battle wolf tried its best to resist, it still couldn't block their powerful attack. Crack! The condensed jade sword slashed the neck of the gold battle wolf, and Immortal Demon Snake's walking stick hit its chest. Almost instantly, the gold battle wolf was killed. One each. After killing the first gold battle wolf, Immortal Demon Snake and Jin Hua didn't feel proud. Instead, they looked more serious. Although they had killed a gold battle wolf with one move, their first moves were actually their strongest killing move. Moreover, compared to the first gold battle wolf, the remaining 2 gold battle wolves were even more powerful. Because the remaining 2 gold battle wolves had devoured Wen Qi and Xiong Tua, who were peak stage heaven immortals and had all kinds of immortal crystals and dharma treasures. After the remaining gold battle wolves devoured them, their combat power would increase by at least 10%. No problem. Although he knew it was dangerous, Jin Hua didn't retreat. Jin Hua knew very well that once he retreated, he would be killed and devoured by the gold battle wolf. Rumble! The battle instantly erupted. Fiend Snake Immortal and Jin Hua did not hold back, they both used their strongest killer moves. However, it would be harder for them to quickly kill the gold battle wolf in a one-on-one battle. If this situation continued, it would take at least a few hours for them to kill the gold battle wolf. No, I have to think of a way. Jin Hua's eyes turned as he secretly thought of a countermeasure. In a few hours, Ningyu would most likely reach the path to heaven. The earlier he reached the path to heaven, the earlier he could obtain the fortuitous opportunities. Jin Hua didn't want to fall behind Ningyu, so he gritted his teeth and forced out a few drops of blood, which he dripped onto the condensed jade sword. Buzz! As the blood dripped onto the condensed jade sword, it let out a buzzing sound and trembled rapidly. The trembling of the condensed jade sword seemed irregular, but that wasn't the case. Trembling wave. The so-called trembling wave was a kind of martial technique that Jin Hua had cultivated in the Central Divine Dynasty. If the martial techniques that Xiong Tua and Wen Qi had just displayed were peak saint-level martial techniques, then the trembling wave that Jin Hua displayed now was even more powerful. It was only one step away from a true immortal-level martial technique. A half-step, immortal-level martial technique. Slash! Jin Hua held the condensed jade sword and slashed at the gold battle wolf. Jin Hua's sword was extremely powerful, almost reaching the strongest move he could display at the moment. Apart from the peerless trump card that he had brought from the Central Divine Dynasty, the power of Jin Hua's sword was the strongest move he could display at the moment. It was even stronger than the move that Immortal Demon Snake had just used. Crack! The powerful trembling wave directly cut off the gold battle wolf's tail. Roar! After its tail was cut off, the gold battle wolf roared at the sky, and then its body kept growing. Berserk! The gold battle wolf was the emperor of the wolf clan, and its berserk technique was extremely terrifying. It could be said that a gold battle wolf with the strength of a late-stage sky immortal could very likely increase its strength to the peak of the sky immortal level after using the berserk technique. I must stop it from going berserk. Jin Hua wasn't a hothead. He knew that once the gold battle wolf went berserk, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, he forced out a few more drops of blood and dripped them onto the condensed jade sword. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.